Whoa, whoa. Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from Percy'sGrowroom.com. I am Macky from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Billy Bonds.
Hello from Cornwall. Been a bit windy here, but obviously the hash helps. So, yeah, groovy.
Beautiful. We also have Margaret.
That's right, everybody. Margaret coming at you from Central Ontario, Canada, and it is absolutely gorgeous today.
What kind of weather? You still getting the nice weather out there?
Yeah, like it's gonna be like 23 degrees tomorrow and Tuesday.
Damn!
WTF?
Which is like very unseasonal, but I will take it.
Oh, that's crazy talk, man. We also have Brian. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. Glad to be back, coming to you guys from Denver, Colorado.
Nice. Where South Park is, right?
Yeah, there's an actual South Park.
That's cool to fuck. Yeah, so welcome everybody. I hope you're all good out there in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like button and also participate in the poll there about do you like snail races and all of that. Because we've got a few snail races to get through in this episode. We've got 3 altogether. Because we have the second place one, which we should have done last week, but I thought we was only giving away 1 prize, but we're in fact giving away 2, so we're spinning that again to pick another winner of that one. We also have one for the people who commented on last week's live stream, so I've got those names lined up, and they will be a snail race on that as well for some monkey beans. And then we're going to do one later in the show for you guys out in chat who are listening this week, where when we hit the smoke break, we'll gather up some names and put it in a snail race, and we'll do a race at the end of the show just for you guys who have joined us live. So lots going on in this episode today. Well, yeah. What are we smoking on today? Are you smoking today, Margaret, or you've just got some edibles? What's the score?
I'm just doing edibles today. I got some edibles and I got a bevy as well.
A bevy?
Yes.
All right, picking up that UK lingo. You know?
Well, what bevy is it? Over there, bevy?
Oh, yeah, sometimes when we're speaking about alcoholic beverages or a cup of tea.
Oh, this is a cannabis bevy, just to be clear.
Nice.
Yes.
I still haven't had one of those, man. It's difficult to get anything like that in the UK, I suppose.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah. And you mentioned you got some hash there, Billy. What you got?
Yeah, just some homemade dry sift as you do. So, but I'm smoking it with some of the bangy haze. So it's like I've got some piney weed with some hash. So it's quite nice.
Sounds delicious. All right, so what have you got over there, Brian? You got something nice?
Yeah, I'm smoking on some orange kush today in the Puffco.
Oh,
it's a nice little Sunday over here.
Yeah, that must be delicious. I love orange weed. You know, that citrusy tub.
These are concentrates even, so it's like it definitely has that little like. You guys ever seen Frank the Tank and all that? Like, once it hits your lips. You guys?
No, I have no idea what that was.
It's like a Will Ferrell movie. I forget the name of it, but anyway, they joke that his name's Frank the Tank because he never stops drinking. And some of my friends joke that I'm like Frank the Tank because the orange, I just can never stop smoking it. It just tastes so good to me. That or like the lemon. I think there's something about citrus that I just have enjoyed throughout the years. So if you can get your hands on some orange or super lemon haze, something like that, I would recommend that your audience try it.
Yeah, give it a shot. Let us know what you're all smoking on in the chat there, everybody, as well. It'd be good to find out what you're all smoking on. But let's have a look at some of these news articles that we're going to be covering today. We have 5 news articles to cover, and we're going to be talking about how to make your buds nice and fat and tasty in the grow guides later on. But for the news stories, we have how much does a legal weed grower in Canada actually get from that ounce you bought? And there's this nice article. It was sent in from somebody on the Discord. I think I can't remember the name. Excuse me for forgetting. But yeah, nice little article there where it breaks down the prices and the taxes and how much actually goes to the grower. So I thought we'd bring that in to have a look at that one as well. We've got some probably bullshit here, but we'll find out. Cannabis leaves molecular marks on DNA linked to psychosis. And you know what cannabis is like, just giving everybody psychosis all the time. So we thought we'd take a closer look at that one. We have, how does cannabis legislation affect organized crime? which is it's an interesting story, which also follows into another one which we have here, which is 6 years in, Canada's illicit cannabis market is making a comeback. So we'll see how it affects organized crime, and obviously after 6 years, organized crime just starts coming back. And we also have Kamala Harris promises full marijuana legislation. Is that a game changer? So taking a quick look at what's going on in the US election, which is what we're on 16 days until the election now. We get to find out who wins and all that. So tense times, everybody. It's going to be an interesting story to cover there. We obviously have some forum news to cover as well, but we'll get to that when we get to the forum news section. But that's just about everything, I think. Nice. That's the professional intro.
Very professional.
Very professional.
Nicely
Very, thank you. Very pro. We're getting used to it now after about 400 episodes or something.
done. It takes time.
I'm sure it's not that many. That's how many episodes we've done, but we haven't done that many intros. That's why we're still rusty. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what it must be. That's what it must be. Yeah, but is there anything else to add, or do we just move on to the news already? It feels like that we're missing something. We couldn't have done all that in just 5 minutes, right?
Do
I
a
think
quick
we actually
snail
did.
racing.
A quick snap. Should we do it now? We'll do it
If
now.
you've got
Go
3
on.
to do, might as
Go
well do
on.
3.
Oh.
Yeah.
This
Do it
double
now.
click. Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go with
Ah.
the double click. Yes.
I hate this mouse. I hate this mouse so much. Why
There
is
goes
it
the
doing it now?
professionalisms.
I'm gonna lose my shit, everybody. Oh, they don't even have it up on the screen. No, we're gonna have to wait till the smoke break because that's where it's all set up to be done. So we have to wait until then. Hang on till the smoke break, everybody. Yeah. Don't read my signature on purses. Yeah. That's on Big Bad Wolfie. He's got some stuff in his signature on purses, and of course, everybody head over to PercysGrowroom.com and sign up if you're not a member already. But I think we are ready for the news. Let's get the news done so we can move on to those snail races. We've got lots to do today. Yeah, we ready for the news? I'm going to freak out if this double clicks me. I swear. You ready? Let's do it. Okay, didn't double click. Nice. So here we are for this week's cannabis news and events, everybody. I think we'll start off with one of my ones first. I've got 2 stories to cover this week. I have to get a new mouse. This drives me crazy. But how much does the grower actually get from sales in Canada? You see what I did there, Margaret? You like I said Canadian?
I caught that. Yeah.
So there's no title here. Where's the title? Here we go. How much does a legal weed grower in Canada actually get from that ounce you bought? And this is from October the 16th. Ever wonder just how much of your hard-earned dollars make it back to the grower when you pick up some weed at the store? A group of BC-based cannabis businesses recently launched a campaign to draw attention to just how little cannabis growers receive from their cannabis amidst a complex supply chain. While the general public may think the cannabis industry is awash in cash, the reality is much more dire, especially for small craft growers who are not propped up by investors and dollars. And can you remember when during the whole COVID period, smoke everybody, I said COVID, that rule still applies. But remember when we were going through the whole COVID thing, I can't remember what company it was specifically, but they were just being promoted by the government, like, here's 100 million, try and stay in business. Remember that?
Yeah, sort of.
No, I
All
thought
the
that
corruption.
silence was a
There's no
resounding
corruption.
no. You know?
No, there's no corruption, mate. Definitely not round here, especially the UK. None of
Oh
that
yeah,
in
of course
the UK.
not the UK. We are all honourable gentlemen over here in
Exactly.
the UK. Yeah,
That's why they invented that term.
it's just
There you
crazy
go.
to see, because when you give tax breaks and grants to big companies like that, the smaller companies, there's no way they can compete. You know, they have to still pay their taxes, so they have to charge more for their cannabis. So then these bigger companies, as well as the tax breaks they're getting and the investments from big companies, they're also able to sell their products for cheaper. So it's just bullshit. It fucks everybody over eventually. But anyway, the BC Cannabis Alliance, comprising around 24 cannabis cultivators and processors in BC, say they are seeking to draw attention to how issues like provincial and federal taxes and fees impact growers, especially BC's small craft cannabis growers. As part of the campaign, the Alliance is sharing information with retailers and consumers on where the money consumers pay for cannabis actually ends up, using a series of infographics that feature popular dried flowers, SKUs. What does SKUs mean?
That means skew.
Yeah,
Oh, SKUs.
it's like an item.
SKUs are like barcodes. That's a slang term, I think, and I think it's an abbreviation.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's
basically,
like something unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's basically barcode. Read that as like a barcode. So
Okay,
when
like
you
a barcode.
scan it in, yeah.
Or something to identify the product. Yeah, okay. I'm sure somebody will drop in chat very soon. Savon's distracting me there with the queue. You have to ask Margaret how many half quarters. Yeah. Anyway, so the SKUs in the BC market, the organization breaks down how various levels of government receive a little over half of every dollar spent. In contrast, cannabis producers receive less than 20%. How fucked up is that? You know, where the person who made the shit in the first place gets 20%, but the government's getting 50%? That's fucked, man. You know, 50% of every dollar is going to the government, but the person who produces the cannabis originally only gets 20% of it. That's bad. Using one example, sorry, Billy, you're saying?
I'm just saying that just sounds like the government. Normally, it's like, yeah, give us our slice and a large part of it.
And and the thing is as well, I'm sure when you look into it further and do more digging, you see that the government is actually squeezing the nipple even fucking further and probably getting more like 70 to 75% when it comes to the overall percentage of the dollar they're getting. Because that's what they do. You know?
Of course, of fucking course.
Of fucking course, everybody. Using one example produced by the Alliance, a popular 28 gram, that's an ounce if anybody doesn't know, a popular 28 gram package of cannabis sold it in BC for about $82. Nearly $9 goes to sales tax, another $28 goes to the excise tax, 75% of which goes to BC. The BC LDB receives another $6 as the distributor. This leaves about $15 for the producer out of the 82 the consumer spends, with that $15 often further divided between processor and grower. So that that remaining $15 from the 82 also gets divided up between the processors and the growers. So you maybe like people trimming and packaging and shit like that.
The grower ain't getting any of that, dude. I've been a part of that for probably a decade or so, and that's why the whole thing, the hoodies versus the suits keep it all, man, whether they're in the grows or legislating the grows.
So you've been involved in a business like this before, right?
Yeah, I've grown commercially.
Okay.
It's a horrible feeling when someone pulls up in a Bentley and tells you that they don't have enough money to give you a raise. You're like, okay, dog.
Right.
Okay,
dog.
right.
I'll just take one of those wheels. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, is that you're a hoodie to them. You're disposable, and that's why I think a lot of people like high on homegrown and other ones that are big on teaching people to grow for themselves. I don't think people realize that that's the actual dream. So many people think that growing in this huge facility, you don't get to control that. So if you were able to control everything and want to make decisions on genetics and all that, that'd be great. But that's not how it works in the real world. Whoever has the money is making those decisions. And so they might grace you with allowing you to be in that meeting. But usually the bean counters are the ones that are telling everybody what to do. And so the real flex, in my opinion, is to be the home grower in this day and age, because you get to pick everything yourself. You get to choose the genetics, how you want to grow it, who you want to sell it to, if you even want to sell it to anybody. I mean, sometimes growing just allows you to save that money instead of you putting out the money you've worked hard for to get cannabis that is probably good one week and then subpar the next. At least growing up in Atlanta, man, East Coast, we get shitted on. So we don't necessarily always have the best weed to be able to smoke. And so I think that's where my urge into wanting to understand how to grow it came from, is because there's nobody out there that's willing to sell quality shit up to the East Coast unless you're a big time player.
That's crazy shit, man. It's a shame to hear as well, because the people, especially here in the UK, I would like to one day, if it does, when it does go legal, it's bound to do it eventually. To have a nice little farm and sell cannabis commercially like that, that would be fucking cool. I'd enjoy doing that. But like you say, it's not all it's cracked up to be, is it?
No,
Not at all.
definitely
Not at all, man. It's something that is
I think
hindsight,
communal
horrible.
communal warehouse where everyone has like the community has a warehouse, all the growers go, but you have like individual tents with like individual stuff. So one person can do one thing, one person can do another. You can all teach and then decide and swap stuff because you've all got your own little thing going on, but all in the same space. So it makes it central.
Wow.
Well, that'd be cool.
Saves costs, and that'd be my thing. So you have a community warehouse where everyone has their grow, so it's not in their house. It's all under security, 24-hour, and all of that malarkey. So yeah, that'd
Crazy.
be the rather
But so-
than having commercial, it'd be a community warehouse
Mhm.
rather than a commercial one.
So back to the article here, we've got various cards highlighting different popular flower SKUs in BC will be shared with retailers in the coming weeks. In addition, the Alliance is highlighting an additional fee charged by the BC government to use their direct delivery program, which allows some small BC growers to ship directly to retailers. This program was touted as a way to help small craft growers and producers in BC, but the BCLDB has kept the 15% proprietary fee in quotation marks they charge to warehouse and distribution and distribute cannabis attached to these direct sales. This is despite the provincial cannabis distributor not actually handling or processing these direct sales in any way. Oh my god.
No corruption or robbery here.
Wow.
Move along.
Wow. The cheek of them. Oh, that pisses me off, man. I'm sorry.
Fucking daylight robbery. That is there. Isn't it?
It's like, how could you? Oh man, I'm gonna continue with the article. I'm not gonna go.
Basically, why they're bending you over, like they're reaching around into your pocket. That's what that says.
And they're not even bending you over because they're not touching you in the first place.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You weren't even there. Oh,
well, they are because they're banging you for all the tax you've paid already, plus the local tax on top.
It's like sending unwarranted dick pics or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The addition of this 15% markup to be paid to the government, despite them not ever handling the product at any point in the supply chain. Sorry, I read that sentence angrier. It's not even in caps or anything. So despite them not ever handling the product at any point in the supply chain is an example of the government saying one thing to support small farms and doing the opposite, says Alana Davis, CEO of Dabble Farms, who is part of the Alliance. Damn, it's
like Diddy telling you the baby oil's safe.
Yeah, just rub the lotion on your skin.
Yeah,
or else he gets the hose again. God damn. The organisation has also created a petition to draw attention to this BC-specific issue, which calls for the BCLDB to drop its proprietary fee for direct delivery from 15% to 3.5. No, from 15% to fucking 0. If they're not doing anything, they shouldn't have part of it. You know, it frustrates me how everybody's just kind of got used to being fucked over so much by the government that we just all happily accept taxes. And it's like, no, you need to show me why you're getting this 15% or 3.5%. It's like, okay, let's drop it down to 3.5, but now show me what that 3.5 is being spent on. Is it just, oh, we're just saying so we can have some money? Then fuck you, you're not getting any money. If you need it to run certain organizations or pay some administration fees, then I can completely understand that you need a little percentage to cover the costs of those things. That's fair. That's more than fair. But just taking 3.5% because we want a little bit of pie, you can go fuck yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Shouldn't that 3.5 be called half a Q, as it's Canada?
Yeah. 0.25%. I'd work with that. You can have 0.25%. How does that sound? Motherfucker. Anyway, yeah.
That sounds like some mafia stuff, dude. They just call it juice instead of proprietary fee.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You need to pay this protection fee to make sure that we don't come in and start smashing shit up. Because that's what it is. Because if you didn't pay the necessary fee, then they will come and raid your place and shut you down and imprison you for not paying the necessary fee to the necessary person. What about this isn't corruption? You know, it's absolutely shocking that they get away with this shit. But I'll go back to the proprietary fee for direct delivery from 15% down to 3.5% to help improve economic viability for all BC craft producers. Isn't it so nice of them to care? Isn't it so nice? BC is now home to some of Canada's favourite cannabis brands, but excessive taxation means our best growers, processors and retailers are struggling to get by, says the organisation's website. Between taxes, fees and markups, the government often take the most while contributing the least. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound anything like the government I know. For BC's most popular products, that can be more than half. My gosh. We are here to rally support for simple changes while helping policymakers create a more sustainable cannabis industry. For more information can be found at bccannabisalliance.com. So there we go. That's the article. Who's enraged? Hit that like button if you're enraged by this shit. It doesn't stop, does it? The corruption, the fuckery, the extortion, because that's what it is, man. It's just extortion by another name. If you don't pay this money, they're going to come in and fuck you over. If you don't pay this money, you can't participate in this industry. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they wonder why the legacy market is thriving.
And the government are basically just like two New York Italians coming and knocking at your door going like, hello, where's the money?
I don't know, man, because those guys, and I hate to be stereotypical, but they would probably be wearing nice suits, you know, be respectful while they're there, you know, and at least come across as if they are nice guys. But the government don't do that. They wear shitty fucking uniforms.
Also, they would probably actually protect you if you did pay them regularly and it was enough.
Yes,
they would.
That's a good point there. The government's taking 50%, but you get nothing in return.
Nothing in return.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Damn.
Yeah. Your roads ain't getting fixed or nothing like that, mate. Yeah.
So, Margaret, being in Canada, why are you not doing something about this?
Well, this is in BC. Every province does it a little bit differently, but it's all the same in a lot of respects. Like the amount that you pay in taxes, fees, markups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because in Ontario, the OCS, which is the government organization that looks after handling cannabis, they do handle the product and it's all shipped from their warehouses. So it's a little bit different, but there's still just as much fuckery in a lot of ways. Because I heard recently that a lot of the cannabis producers, once their product goes to the OCS, to their warehouse, they can't actually track at this point in time where their product ends up, in what store and in what quantities, which seems kind of ridiculous.
That's a bit odd, isn't it? So you can't really get no stats on who's buying your weed, where, when, and which is quite important to a retailer, isn't it? It's very useful information for strain choosing and all of that.
And they also put their warehouse in a place called Oakville, which is like around the Toronto area, to service a lot of the province. And the real estate there is extremely valuable. So that means the cost of just having stuff stored in this warehouse is probably way higher than it could be.
If there's no trace of where your weed goes, how do they know it's not all sold on the black market for a
little bit
markup?
Convenient, I say. A little bit convenient. It's like all the evidence has been eaten by mice again. Oh,
yeah.
Right. I think they are working on changing that, because a lot of growers and producers have been obviously complaining about it for good reason. But it is a bottleneck anyway, because retailers still can't buy directly from the growers or from the LPs.
Yeah,
they have to.
Again, it's them just muscling in their way in between, giving it, mate, we're having a slice of pie. You don't give a fuck.
And there's nothing you can do.
In every province.
Yeah,
like it's like that. Sounds like it's like that in BC and Ontario, but I think there's some provinces where LPs might be able to sell directly to retail. But it just depends on where you are.
Crooked. But this is
corruption here. Move along.
Exactly. Yeah, move along on to the next article, and I think the next article, it's a good segue to move into the one Margaret has here. About the illicit cannabis market and why it is thriving. You want to take it away there, Margaret?
Yeah, because Canada did just celebrate 6 years of legalization just a few days ago. So this article from StratCan as well is entitled 6 Years In, Canada's Illicit Cannabis Market is Making a Comeback. After waning considerably in the first few years of legalization, unlicensed cannabis stores are making a comeback in parts of Canada. Canada's approach to legalization in the first 6 years has primarily been to encourage those operating outside the rules to find ways to transition to the legal side. Provinces, which are responsible for enforcing their own approaches to retail cannabis, have seen many who were previously operating in Canada's illicit cannabis market pre-legalization choosing to close down rather than face enforcement. In provinces like British Columbia, this was encouraged through a multi-year education campaign and encouraging compliance rather than shutting down stores on the first day of legalization. BC's approach has been relatively successful with many formerly gray market or otherwise illegal store owners now operating licensed stores. While increasing number of stores operating on First Nations reserve lands in BC issue provincial licensing, it's very unlikely to come across an unlicensed store within BC's cities. Ontario, another province with a fair number of illegal shops in the run-up to legalization, took a heavy-handed law enforcement approach, but a somewhat more measured one after October 17, 2018. Bylaw officers are now often left to handle illegal stores in cities like Toronto, an approach that seems to have encouraged some more gutsy entrepreneurs to operate in the open again, with seemingly little concern or expectation for any kind of enforcement. New Brunswick has also reported a number of closures of unlicensed cannabis stores in the past few years, usually operating in and around its more urban areas. After the province passed new enforcement powers by city or bylaw officers earlier this year, several unlicensed stores were quickly closed down in recent months. Other provinces have taken a more hardline approach to enforcing their retail regulations, with provinces from Alberta to Quebec to the Maritimes carrying on the historic lack of permissiveness around these types of stores before and after legalization. Like other aspects of a evolving cannabis industry, StratCan has covered this issue extensively and from multiple angles, from in-depth interviews and exposés like our recent look at the robust online mail-order marijuana scene, or our upcoming look at the return of illegal and unlicensed brick-and-mortar shops popping up in many major cities east of the prairies, to our documenting of law enforcement actions. We're helping to draw a bigger picture of this complex and nuanced aspect of the industry. The heart of this complicated issue is enforcement or the lack thereof. Law enforcement officials in places like Toronto and Ottawa appear to be paying no heed to clearly unlawful businesses operating in the open, but the reason why it gets murky when you scratch under the surface. Some in law enforcement will describe how they don't often pursue cannabis-related cases because courts usually don't give them much attention. This means that with limited time and resources, police leadership will simply prioritize many of the other myriad issues that impact public safety. Another issue is the complexity of enforcement and cross-jurisdictional support. Shutting down an illicit store is usually a game of whack-a-mole. Without targeting the owners and suppliers, the store will likely be open once again, sometimes as soon as the same day. But taking the time to build a case that can all these dots in a way the courts will uphold is much more complex than just seizing products and possibly arresting employees present that day. Personally, this is the opinion of the person who wrote the article. I was surprised to see how many illegal stores were operating in Ottawa on a recent visit. Operating on major streets, sometimes just a few minutes walk from a provincially licensed store, one can see how many casual passerby would have little reason to think that these are not legal shops. Unless you're deeply invested in understanding the nuances of legal cannabis, a weed store looks like a weed store, especially when it's operating in a major street in a major Canadian city, rather than out of a small shack on a rural road with hand-painted signs.
Sorry to interject there, Margaret, but do you see this in your area, in your towns? Do you see legal and illegal stores opening up?
Not in my town. I don't think there's any. And
Right.
there's already like 20 weed stores in my town. But I know of ones in Toronto for sure.
And what's the difference between the two? Like, when you
Oh,
go in there, can you tell the difference between one being legal and one being illegal?
yeah, because the one the one that I like to go to, you can buy infused beverages. Like they'll like if you want to go in and get like a hot drink, they'll infuse it if you want, or I can buy like bags of gummies that are like 30 pieces in it at 20 milligrams each instead of what's legally available. Or
So you
you
can't do that
can,
in a legal store.
no,
Oh
That's what,
wow.
like in the legal store, edibles are capped at 10 milligrams a package. So I can't buy a package with 300 milligrams in it in a
So
legal store.
so this is where the fucking problems come in when they just
Yeah.
try and fuck with the market like that. It's like make it legal, take a step back, stop with all the stupid regulations, and then you wouldn't have this problem in the first place, right? It's not as if they're
Yeah.
infusing everything with crack or heroin. It's all still cannabis. You know what I mean? It's still safe for the consumer.
And the one that you go to, you can like they'll have jars of weed and you can be like, I want to look at that one. And they'll weigh it out for you. You know, like the old school way.
It all sounds horrifically criminal.
Yeah.
You know, what the
Yeah,
fuck, man?
yeah, it's really interesting too because like I'm sure it's tricky because I'm sure a lot of LPs would love to be able to sell that way and sell directly to retailers and stuff.
Mhm.
But there's so much regulation around it. And yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted. You want to carry on?
No, that's okay. There's
Do you
just
know
like
why 10 milligrams is the standard now?
no,
Mhm.
I don't.
A journalist from the New York Times, she came to Denver in the early days, and in the early days, it was kind of like where you're speaking on, where there was all this kind of like, hey, we got stuff, and then we got stuff in the back. Supposedly, that journalist, being a journalist, got the stuff in the back, took a gummy that was 100 milligrams. She had never done cannabis in her life, and
Jeez.
Oh
she
no.
freaked the fuck out, which probably would happen. I mean, to someone
Right.
that drinks, this is the equivalent of I've never had a beer before. Okay, let's start shooting Jägermeister. It makes no
Have some
sense.
moonshine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never done it before, then let's just jump off a cliff. And that's what she did to herself. And since that day, you can sell like 100 milligrams, but it has to be broken up into 10
Wow.
pieces. And it seems like that has now become the standard for legal cannabis worldwide.
Ridiculous.
That
You
is,
know,
that's crazy. And I wouldn't even mind being able to buy a bag with 10 pieces at 10 milligrams each, but in Canada, it has to be 10 milligrams per package. Which,
wow.
so it would be like it's 10 milligrams a package. So if there's 5 pieces in it, they're 2 milligrams each. And it gets really expensive
Eee.
to buy them. Yeah. Like it's crazy because some people can consume 100 milligrams and be
You
fine.
gotta get a sugar rush more than you fucking feel in the
And they're
buzz
gonna
of
have
the
to buy
weed.
like 10
Not their
packages
first
of
time, though,
whatever.
I don't think. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
anybody
No.
could take 100
No.
milligrams and just be
Oh
like,
no, fuck
hey.
no.
Oh no, I couldn't either.
Edibles fuck me up. Even 2 milligrams would probably mash me up. I'm just being sarcastic, but shit.
No, but I know
Again.
people where 2 milligrams is their thing, and that's
Mhm.
totally fine. But there's tons of people where 10 milligrams, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But that's all you can buy on the legal market.
Madness.
It's
There was
crazy.
something in Denver for a while. It's called the Incredible Bars, and they had an Incredible Bar that was kind of like behind the scenes, wink, wink kind of thing. It was 1,000 milligrams, and my buddy and I ate that before I had kids or anything on New Year's Eve, and that was the only time off cannabis that I was like ripping my bed sheets and like wishing it would stop, like a long acid trip.
Damn.
You
Yeah.
ate the whole thing?
We ate the whole thing, and I've
That's
never done that
insane.
since. Yes, that's
Yeah,
not
no, that's a
1,000
one-time thing
milligrams.
only.
You remember? I think it's Antonio Banderas where he's like, "You took too much. You took too much. Too much." That's how I felt that entire night, man. Because you can't turn off edibles, obviously, like smoking it. So
Mhm.
it's a ride.
It is a ride for like 4 or 5, 6 hours. Who knows? Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, that's it. And people need to be careful of it, of course, but education is what you need. And people learn those lessons once they've gone too far, you know, and at least with cannabis, nobody's dying. You know, they might freak out a little bit, but they should be okay. But, you know, with things like alcohol and shit, like you say, somebody just necked a bottle of absinthe, then that might be their
Right.
last bottle. You know, but it's up to the consumer. I think education is important. It doesn't matter when they're offering these packages of a maximum of 10. It's like people can just buy numerous packets if they wanted to fucking have more. And it's not like I want them to do that, but the government don't see that. It's like the consumer's gonna buy what they want. And if there's a demand for it, there'll be a market for it. And if you want to make it legal and properly regulated, then do so. But if you put silly restrictions in place, the illegal market thrives because people would rather go there because some people want that shit. It's ridiculous.
And to
Isn't it?
be honest, when I buy edibles, like if I'm buying edibles and I obviously make a ton of my own, but when I do buy them, I don't buy them from legal stores because they're just too expensive.
Wow. So there's that as well.
Yeah.
I suppose
Yeah.
because of all the taxes and shit. You know, the government need their 50%.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, again, because they're only 10 milligrams a package, I'm usually like a 20 to 30 milligram person to sort of feel any effects. So that means I'd have to buy 3 packages, and I'm looking at anywhere from like 20 to 30 bucks a pop then. Like it just
Wow.
starts to get a little too pricey to be able to
Mhm.
do that. So I'll sometimes buy cannabis drinks. I do like the cannabis drinks that are available, but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
nice to have the options, isn't it?
It is, yeah, options are nice. I'm fortunate in that way. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not grateful that we have legal cannabis, but there are certain things like the edibles limits that should really be changed.
So,
Yeah.
Margaret, do you make your own edibles then if you can't afford them?
Usually that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Do you know a place where you can get some good recipes?
Yeah, I think there's this little spot on the internet called bitemepodcast.com.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there. Yeah, great site.
Yeah.
Definitely
Nice
head
lady
there.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
For anybody who's into a little radical self-reliance, maybe you're growing some weed and you got a little extra trim or something, you want to do something with it. Well, just make your own. Then you don't have to go to government stores or illegal shops or whatever.
So, did you want to finish off this article here, Margaret, or you want to move on? It's up to you.
I mean, honestly, the article's pretty much over. Like that was about it. They're just talking about a bit like the political football of enforcement.
Yeah.
When it comes to these stores, and it is complicated because sometimes I do feel a little guilty shopping at these, and I don't do it very often because I'm not in Toronto a whole lot.
What do you feel guilty what for shopping at the illegal place?
Sometimes because a lot of these
No,
other
you've got it
shops are
twisted,
like,
Margaret. You need to feel guilty for shopping at the legal place. Fuck them.
but
Go to the
a
illegal
lot of those
place.
legal shops, they've like, it's mom and pop shops that have, well, not all of them, but some of them are just people who wanted to like open a weed store, and then they realized that it's a lot harder than it looks, and they don't. Yeah,
They
there's a
can't
ton of
afford the
regulation.
licenses and shit,
Yeah,
That's the shop I'd be going to.
yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel guilty at all.
Support local.
That's right. Cheeky bastards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Support small businesses, everybody.
Grow your own, make your own edibles. There you go.
Definitely. But yeah, interesting story there. And you've got one which kind of relates to this as well, ain't you, Billy? We're moving on a nice little tangents, not tangents, segues through each article here.
I do actually, because there's lots of stuff, obviously, because Canada's just reached their milestone of another year passing and cannabis legalization. That is more studies similar to what Marge is about coming out.
Margaret.
And sorry, Margaret, yeah. Well
Yes.
done for correcting me, sir. So it's a sociological inquiry explores how the shift to a legal market has reshaped the criminal enterprises once heavily involved in the illicit cannabis trade. So key findings on the organised crime and cannabis. The research conducted by scientists Martin Bouchard and Naomi Zakimi of Simon Fraser University and Benoit Gomes of the University of Toronto. Benoit could be, sorry, Benoit of Toronto shows that the legal cannabis market now dominates in Canada. So, yep, according for over 71% of household expenditures on cannabis as 2023. So they're still saying that 29% are still using as such the unlicensed mum and pop stores, which we just said about, and obviously the trade of who's in your house and your back gardens and your sheds.
It's interesting. Just any of the listeners out there who are in a legal place, like a place in Canada, let us know what do you prefer to go to the illegal market? Do you prefer to go to the legal stuff? And let us know. Let us know why as well. It'd be interesting to get some.
I will mention one thing too. Like when I worked at the dispensary, I worked with obviously people who smoked a ton of weed, and there was a large proportion of staff that would often drive to the First Nations reserves to buy their weed.
Yeah.
Because the deals were so good. Like they would buy weed from the store too, but the staff discount was okay, but they were big consumers, so they would go to the First Nations reserves and get really good deals on the weed.
Yeah, man. It's just like capitalism, like let the market do its thing. The people are going to go to the better stuff and the better prices. That's the way it works. But
yeah, that's what this is. That's what this study is pretty much saying as well. That a lot of the people have gone to the legal market. Even the so criminals. They've either gone into the illegal market again, still like selling out of various places, but most of them sort of seem to be cutting and running to like other drugs markets and just obviously quitting as well because there's nothing they can do. So it's the high prices, inconsistent quality, and limited accessibility to the legal market, which continue to drive some of the consumers towards a cheaper, unlicensed alternatives. Again, the higher prices because of all the taxes, inconsistent quality again because it's like mass grown stuff as well. So if it's all a bit more mum and pup, then it could be a bit more controlled. So like again, regulation is still pushing people towards the illegal market because again, it's the regulation isn't there. So the cross-border smuggling, which is to me is a bit silly because it's only like across state, isn't it? It's not really cross borders. There's like some of it's obviously going into the US, but like when I say cross border, most of that's like state to state.
Province to province, yeah.
Yeah, it's to me it's just the same country. Someone's just driving like a long way because it's a big country, isn't it? That's why they have states there because they're the size of freaking countries. Like bloody hell. So it's because they say it's smuggled out of Canada as well, but not as much of it's smuggled because they seem to catch a lot of it as well. It seems from all the news stories we get, right? But the shift in the criminal focus with cannabis becoming less profitable for the criminal market as well, obviously, because they're got to face even these mum and pub stores which are popping up being sort of legal but not legal as well, but normal people are not the criminals. So that's what they're saying, that the legal weed is equaling less crime. Like even the FBI data are saying surprising benefits of cannabis legalization. So it's like all links together.
And this is what I say this pretty much every episode. You know, if you want to reduce the crime and shit, legalize and regulate. It's as simple as that. It just baffles me how we see this as just like stoners on a Sunday afternoon, just running a podcast on YouTube and shit. And the government are only just realizing this now.
This I'm saying. This is a sociological study. It's like this is what I was telling like our government like fucking 30 years ago. All this shit. It's like it seems to have taken like a bunch of people in the university to come up with the same shit. It's like, well, we're discussing this as ex-drug users like 30 years ago in a room. It's like because we could see because we lived it. We lived the experience, and it's like they just seem to ignore everyone's lived experiences.
I don't know if they're ignoring it for
that's
the best interest of their own pockets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They choose to ignore it.
Allegedly, cough.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So to draw the conclusions, the researchers conducted a comprehensive review of more than 5,000 sources, including the academic papers, media reports, and governmental publications. The key indicators used to assess the impact of cannabis legalization on organised crime included several metrics, such as price comparison between legal and illicit markets, the supply-demand balance, and cash circulation as well, because that's obviously important. Like lower illegal cannabis prices tend to pull consumers away from illegal sources. So obviously, if they're mass-producing legal stuff and selling it for like real cheap, which like they're saying like at $18 and $28 an ounce with some taxes on top, like the illegal market's difficult to match them prices. So they've been monitoring the prices is crucial to see about that. Cannabis demand estimates the legal supply are also analysed to measure how well the market results and the consumption needs as well. So obviously they're monitoring how much the market is consuming.
Which could reduce reliance on the illicit market. It's not about,
there's
there's not enough on the legal market. We have to go to the legacy market now. It's not about that. It's the price, you dickheads.
The quality.
And the quality,
like,
Yeah.
And more would be sold. Like it's not the amount. More if it's high quality, it'd be sold across the board, and more better edibles would be sold, wouldn't it? It's the same. It'd be a knock-on effect. It's like the illicit cannabis seizures by law enforcement. They're examining the criminal justice data for organised crime ties and any analysing of the cash circulation. So obviously, is the cash going to illegal crime or just like your local mum and dad sort of thing, basically? So these methods, along with all the interviews and internal documents, provide a nuanced understanding of how organised crime has responded to the legalisation. So exclusive analysts and the top news about the cannabis industry and the markets daily to your inbox for free, basically. So That's what they're saying. They're just trying to advertise themselves there. So one
Did you
key
just
finding,
read out part of the
I
ad
did.
there?
Yeah, I did.
I'm leaving that in, I am.
Yeah, exactly. Got to read that in. And that's our ad of the week. It's better than Manscaped, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Manscaped will be there as well, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. So the recommendations basically for policymakers, and the one key finding is between the unlicensed and licensed cannabis is persistent and complex. They're basically saying it's like, which isn't really surprising. So the police and law enforcement interventions aiming to address illicit cannabis trade in Canada may indeed have consequences on the legal cannabis production, sales, and consumption as well. So the legal market may need to compete by learning from the consumer preferences established in the illegal market. That's their conclusion, which is quite a thing. They're basically saying, listen
Profound.
to what the
How could they
consumers
see
are
so
doing.
deeply? Wow.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like, oh wow. So listen to the market. Where have we heard that before? Fucking dickheads. So that's thus and therefore the need for a comprehensive approach. So yeah, they need to fucking change regulations. So regulators and politicians would do well to measure expectations. The illegal activities along cannabis supply chains will persist, and eliminating them altogether is an unrealistic goal, they added.
Well, yeah, because like when a grower is only making, what was that number, $15 or something on an ounce or whatever.
Basically, yeah.
15%, which was also divided by between them and the producer. Yeah, well, the process.
Like it's so hard to compete. You have to be a giant, like, you know, company with investors on the stock market to actually make any money at it, but nobody wants to smoke that weed.
Yeah, basically, and because of that, the illegal market is still thriving. And getting bigger because of the stupid, and that's what they're saying. They're saying you better start to listen because it's obviously going to change again.
Yeah, you know, the government needs to listen because they're doing it wrong, and they might have legalized, but they put stupid regulations on every aspect of it, which has just made the whole situation worse. And this is why people are still flooding back to the legacy market. And it's not just the thing that's happening in Canada. This is happening in California and loads of different states as well in the USA, isn't it? You would know more about this, Brian. You see this happening in the USA?
Yeah, I even see like certain brands thinking that they can just prop up the commercial weed, like you guys are talking about, with beautiful marketing and branding and packaging. And if you've ever heard of a guy named Dan Bilzerian, he's kind of the poster boy. He started, or supposedly he started, I think people were behind him, this company called Ignite Cannabis. And they had, I believe, at least $100 million that they were putting behind this booth cannabis, and nobody wanted it. And so
booth cannabis. Is that booth with an F? It's not booth, is it? It's not like phone booth.
B-O-O-F.
Wow.
Wow.
Talk about blowing smoke up your ass. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the boofiest of the booth, man, is when it's that commercial. And the suits never understand that stuff. So the brands that actually make a lot of money, in my opinion, from a living soil is this dude named Steve Cantwell. He's in Las Vegas. People that come into Las Vegas probably have smoked his weed without knowing it. It's called Green Life Productions. And that's where I think a lot of those super corporate people wish that they could get at, but usually the head grower is not allowed to pick whatever genetics. Imagine if you were a songwriter and you weren't able to write your own songs and you actually wanted to be a songwriter, right? It'd be very frustrating. That's usually what you're seeing, even with these huge corporate brands. They're not going to be able to sell their booth because the people that understand the market and the kind of the underground scene, more of the hip hop scene, those people are never in a suit as a CPA. And so that disconnect has caused probably hundreds of, or maybe if not thousands of brands across America to go under because they've been all growing the same shit. So it's like, okay, who's hot? Oh, Capulator. All right, well, let's grow his stuff. Well, if everybody's growing Capulator stuff in Oklahoma, because that's where it first popped off like that, then it all comes back to price. And so there's a huge problem when people only want to pay you for like going lower and lower in price. And that's why I give a shout out to Steve Cantwell and his family, because that's a family owned business and they are growing some of the best commercial cannabis that money can buy. So I would highly recommend anybody that ever goes to Las Vegas, just check that out. There's something to getting away from elite cannabis and growing your own, like we kind of started off the show with. There's nothing better than the feeling of smoking your own weed, even if the first time it's boof. It's all right. You know, that grassy mid is how you start out sometimes.
Yeah,
you know, that's how I started out.
And still, that's still better than buying it. I would still
at
have
least you
that
did it
mids.
to yourself.
Exactly. You know, you've grown that shit yourself, and you've got loads of it. So it might be a little bit shit. It doesn't get you as high as you expect, but smoke 2 of them. It doesn't matter. It's still gonna be much better and cheaper than anything you're gonna buy it. Well, I wouldn't say anything. That's a bit too harsh because there's some real good shit out there if you want to pay the dough for it. But man, I prefer my homegrown to anything. I was around my friend's house last week, and he had some cannabis, and he bought it from somewhere, and it just seemed like it was a bit PGR. It's got some shit sprayed on it and shit. And I know that's just gonna fuck me up too much. You know it's like too strong for me because I'm a lightweight motherfucker, and I got my own joint. So it's just like, nah, I think I'll leave that, man. I don't want to hit that shit. You know, it's different for each people. People like their own stuff, man. But the homegrown for me, my own homegrown, is the only thing I smoke now. If I go out with friends and they're like, you want to hit this shit? It's like, no, thanks. You know, because I'm a snobby bastard like that, because I can be, because I grow my own. You know, so grow your own, everybody. Don't fuck around with all this legal shit.
I've been a judge for some cannabis events over the years, and even with there's this one guy, his name is Adam Dunn, the Adam Dunn Show. We were kicking people out at this one event because so many of them had PGRs, which means plant growth regulator. And what that basically does is when people, especially in the hood, when they throw their nugs on the table and it sounds like rocks, that's plant growth regulator. You don't want that. And so a lot of people are misinformed about what high-end cannabis should be. It should have like you drop it on the table, it should have some weight to it. But again, this is a flowery plant, so it shouldn't sound like a bunch of rocks. And PGRs are nothing to play around with. And there's a reason why any kind of connoisseur will even say, I'm not going to smoke that. Yeah. It's PGR when they're doing like a judging type thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way it should be. And this is one of the ways it's one of the things that should happen when cannabis is properly legalized and regulated, is that kind of thing is taken out of the market because it's necessarily unsafe for the consumer. You know, you've got heavy metals in and chemicals and all this shit. I don't know. At the same time, maybe it should be available for those who want it. I don't know. You know, I think the freedom is important like that. Freedom of choice like that. I think it's important. I don't know. Each to their own. Anyway, am I rambling? I hit that joint and shit. Now I'm a little high, you know. Ah, shit. But proper legalization and regulation fixes a lot of things. But if they go too far with the regulation, then it just sends things backwards and sends it into the legacy market. And as far as I'm concerned, the legacy market has done just fine for the last 50 years. If they want to take part in the cannabis market, they need to step in and become part of it without trying to wreck everything. Because we've done just fine on our own. So fuck them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so do you want to move on to your new story now, Brian? If you want to take your one away, have a look at this.
Oh, I was trying to show you, man. I forgot about that. I DM'd you.
Oh,
I forgot about the stories. So
you know, man, I found one for you, but forgot to send you the link to it. So let me send you the link to it.
I apologize. I need to tell my wife so she's always on top of that. But yes, I apologize. So if you guys want to maybe ask me some questions or something, some Q&A real quick, I'm happy to answer your home.
I'll just send
professionalism.
I'll send you the link on Instagram now so you can see it. Is that cool?
Yeah.
There it is. You just click on that and open it up and there we go. And I can edit all that out so people won't even know, bro. We're professionals as fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was trying to be professional. That's why I hit you with the DM. You would have been like, oh, bro, I sent it.
Oh, did you DM me on Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't read the DMs on Zoom.
Away.
Oh, well. All right. So obviously this is from The Guardian, which I actually usually read every morning, to be honest. I think it's fair to say that if you read certain articles from a variety of different news publications, you'll start to see for yourself how jaded it is from one side to the other and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, The Guardian seems to be, as best it can for how large it is, still trying to stay somewhat neutral. So if you've never heard of The Guardian, I think that might be something better to read than constantly being like, I know everything because I read this side, or I know everything because I read that side.
You know, I read the Daily Mail. I'm well informed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
propaganda
yeah.
on everything. Obviously, there's
Yeah.
propaganda in The Guardian. But from pulling it back, I think The Guardian actually has real journalism still. All right. So Kamala Harris promises full marijuana legalization. Is that a game changer? And I can tell you firsthand that lady is only saying that because she got caught from Tulsi Gabbard talking shit about how she actually feels about cannabis. So here's the story. Kamala Harris announced on Monday that if elected president, she would fully legalize adult recreational cannabis on the federal level. The first time a presidential nominee has taken such an unambiguous stance on ending cannabis prohibition. As part of her pledge, she said that she would take steps to ensure that Black men disproportionately incarcerated and disenfranchised by the war on drugs would stand to profit from the industry. Vince Slowiski, a partner at the cannabis law firm Harris and Slowiski, said he was happy to see it because I like the messaging, but added she can't just snap her fingers and do it when she gets into office. It's not something that can be done via executive orders.
Oh, right. I thought that was possible for a president. They can pretty much pass anything with an executive order. Well, I wonder why. Do you know why they wouldn't be able to pass this as an executive order?
I think that they don't want to pass this until it is extremely forced. And if you really want to get on it, I think that governments all over the world make a lot of money in selling cannabis and selling other things as well, and cash and all of that kind of stuff. So to shut it down completely probably doesn't make sense from a how are we going to fund things that don't come from taxpayer money? And so this to me is just I mean, if you know about Harris's background, she was a prosecutor in California. She kept people in prison to protect her precious conviction rates. Right. That's something that I feel like as a cannabis user should be spoken about more. So this to me is just pandering to people that might not be as informed and will read an article and be like, oh, that's great. She cares about cannabis. But if you really want to get into cannabis at the federal level,
when you take a little scratch beneath the surface, there appears to be more to it, as usual.
There's a lot to this, yeah. And that's why I think, like, if you really want a female in power that I think would represent the average person, then please look at a woman named Tulsi Gabbard. I think that is somebody that Americans, I wish they actually knew more about. She got hit by the Hillary Clinton train of disinformation and said that she worked for all these different foreign governments and stuff. She actually had military service. So I just wanted, I guess that's a small rant to just say that this is kind of, in my opinion, why I'm even reading this. This is not, she doesn't care about cannabis.
And Tulsi Gabbard used to be vice chair of the DNC as well, as far as I know, way high up there in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think even an advisor, like she's, you know. So anyway, back to the story here. Federal marijuana legalization is a sound policy, and supporting it is a smart strategy, not just with Black voters, but with Americans across the board, said Kat Packer, director of drug markets and legal regulation with Drug Policy Action. Here's another quote. As a Black woman and the first person of color to regulate marijuana for both medical and adult use, I understand the challenges in creating legal marijuana markets that work for Black men. I also recognize the profound harms caused by federal probation. Packer added that it makes sense for Harris's plan to include provisions that will remove barriers for Black men in cannabis and other domains. Notably, the pledge sets Harris apart from both her opponent and her predecessor, while Trump and Biden now support some level of cannabis legalization. Harris is the first to explicitly state that ending prohibition is a priority. During his administration, Biden made a number of promises on cannabis, including to expunge criminal records for possession convictions and get cannabis rescheduled so that it is eligible for FDA approval. The DEA has made progress on the rescheduling, but it won't go through before the election. And Biden only expunged a small fraction of cannabis-related convictions during his administration. It was kind of embarrassing because he kept up on his website all this stuff he was promising, said Slowiski. Meanwhile, Trump has changed his tune on cannabis during this election season, including both supporting an upcoming Florida ballot initiative that would legalize recreational cannabis, but the decisions he made during the presidency left a lasting sense of distrust among advocates. So again, here, I mean, look at Florida. I could tell you firsthand that Florida was going after anybody, even if you had seeds and shit back in the day. So this whole flip on cannabis is, in my opinion, kind of a smoke screen. There's nobody really out for you, looking out for you. So take care of your family, grow a little for yourself, and kind of smoke and listen to me when I read and the panel read these stories, because a lot of this stuff to me is just literally smoke and mirrors, man. Just you're smoking and they're blasting these mirrors all over. Harris also distinguishes herself from Trump in calling for social equity provisions that help Black men benefit from the industry, but making such provisions work is tricky. Even when Democrats controlled both houses of Congress during Biden's administration, Thorne pointed out that they were unable to successfully pass cannabis policy reform, in part because of disagreements about whether social equity provisions went far enough. Another
what do they
quotation,
mean by that? I don't know. I don't understand why they need to do these things. Just open the market up to everybody and treat everybody fairly. I don't think black men or black women need a leg up or anything. They can do it by themselves. I don't know why they have policies like this in the United States. We don't see things like this here in the UK, you know?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
so it's a very touchy
they've been
subject.
disproportionately, what am I trying to spit out?
They've been discriminated against by law enforcement. Yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it's legalized, they won't be held by the same rule, you know, by the same what's the word I'm looking for? Discrimination, you know, the prejudices.
Yeah,
they won't be
except
held
if
by
you
the
look
same
at a
prejudices.
lot of the people that run cannabis companies, they're all like white guys. So
yeah, because they're the guys with the money.
yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately,
so they already have the leg up that everybody else doesn't have. So
And a lot of these guys are like we were saying, the suits. So they don't give a shit about cannabis whatsoever. They're just in
Also
what they call usually they're venture capitalists, VCs. And these guys are coming in to spend X amount of money and leave with Y amount of money, and they don't give a fuck about anything else besides that. And that is where most small mom and pop cannabis farms end up selling their farms to, or these types of companies.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's more of a point of the people who have been persecuted by cannabis laws, regardless of race, need to be supported more, and not let these rich motherfuckers just come along with all their money and don't give a shit about the business. They should be prevented from getting involved if they want to do anything. You know what I mean? Well, maybe I'm just being controversial.
Yeah, no, they point everything at race just to keep it like, so we forget about it's a class system. So it's like the poor against the rich. Yeah,
that's
don't
right.
matter how
it's
much
more
money
about class
you got.
Than race. Yeah, sure.
It's class and race. Yeah, that's where the war is. But they try and direct us in with smoke and mirrors again, like with bullshit. Yeah, keep us fighting among ourselves to the scraps, which they leave us.
I grew up in poverty, and I can attest that every race is usually found there. And I think that people that are trying to make it up, the color of their skin sometimes can help them not get arrested. I've personally seen that. When I didn't get a DUI, I think because I was white and I had my friends in the car who were black. And I think if one of them was actually driving, it might have been reversed. And that's really sad to say, but I grew up in Georgia at a time where that shit still happened. Do I think that still happens anymore? Not unless it's like real rural towns. So I do think that having a leg up in life is more just building your network, and somehow saying that the color of your skin is keeping you back in 2024 and in the future is, in my opinion, kind of silly. You have the same advantages as everybody else. It's just sometimes it takes longer if you're poor, if you're
I would say look at all the basketball and baseball players. What color are they, man? Like,
just whatever. I mean, there's CEOs that.
Man.
I think that argument is silly this day and age.
So the amount of black people on like YouTube doing sort of like conservative like talks and all that are really popular. It's like it's got nothing to do with your skin. Again, it's what religion or class you are. It's rather that's really what people look at now, rather than just like like Martin Luther said, man, we're people looking just not at the skin and color anymore. It just seems the media and the government are pushing that on everyone.
Yeah, I feel that way as well.
Yeah,
it's more the government going on about this shit to
because
keep us
my
divided,
generation, my generation grew up with like everyone from everywhere, so it is like we just see for someone's attitude rather than
I don't know if I could agree with a lot of this stuff though, because we're all sitting here saying that stuff is like a bunch of white people. So I mean,
absolutely.
You know, if we ask somebody, a person of color, they might have a very different perspective than what we're saying. It's silly. It's probably not.
Yeah,
silly.
but I've seen racism the other way as well. So personally,
and you know, two of us, well, three of us that don't. Only Brian is in the States, so we don't know what it's like over there for them guys as well. That's it all needs to be taken into consideration.
Again, we live in 3 different countries in different areas. I think it's all different situations and that. But again, it's still government dividing us in every shape or form.
That's where the problem is. I think it's just the government. The government likes to keep us fighting against each other rather than looking up and blaming the people who are actually responsible for our problems, which is them and their crony friends.
Yeah. So again, it's like the mum and pups are missing out because the big pharmaceutical companies are splaying their money everywhere, and all the big guys who make money in the cities are like want to spend their 100 million on a cannabis business to walk away with 500 million.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, we should move on with this article because we're running a little bit over time. What are you saying there, Brian?
Well, I wanted to make clear, like I wasn't saying like it's not just the color of someone's. I'm saying from a poverty standpoint.
Yeah, totally. That's the same.
I hope Margaret kind of maybe understands. There are undertones in that, but I think in 2024, anybody can fire up and learn and educate themselves, go to a library. That's why I feel like when you're saying it's being held back is silly. I grew up where it was so not diverse that everybody called me white boy. And so there's certain things that you grow up and you see, and I think you can learn and
well, like you say, that's why it destroyed the libraries and the educational systems and that. So that
it's being poor that I think is the major thing anymore. It's not
because you don't have the access to the education. That's what they limit you with the schools again, with what access to education you have. And if you can't feed yourself, then like learning from and going to find a library and educating yourself is going to be a bit more difficult. You need to work. So
and your parents have to be around. I mean, there's a lot of variables to it, but I think some of the like just looking at someone's outer appearance, I don't think that shit matters in my opinion. I think you can hustle
on the lower level to person it doesn't matter, but when it becomes like government or media, then they make a difference somehow.
Yes. Anyway, interesting topic. Let us know what you all think in the chat. You know, we can all have a respectful conversation about this kind of thing. If you disagree or agree, you know, then drop some comments, you know, below the video and all that shit. And let us know what you think.
Well, I'd like to say that I like coming here because we don't agree on a lot of stuff. And we have a civil conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good having civil conversation.
It's important to have civil
Harris
conversations.
Is going to make cannabis legal?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, this is all smoking beer.
Let's stall it again like they did for the last 3.5 years when they said it last time.
So would Trump legalize it if he got in?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
He'll leave it to the states and they do what they do, basically.
That's the status quo.
I just think I don't know. It's just better to err on the side of caution. Remember, these people are politicians, both Kamala and Trump, politicians. Don't believe a fucking word they say. All right. Well, believe it when I see it. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't see it happening anytime soon. And it's just I would rather be surprised than disappointed. So if just to say no, because if I said yes and it didn't happen, I'd be disappointed. I'd be like, that's a bit shit, you know. But hopefully it happens. It has to happen soon. But whether these guys are going to do it, I think. I mean, surely when they're saying it this much and it's so much of a big deal, then they're going to do it. But they said it last time. The Biden administration, especially Kamala Harris, I apologize if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. But they mentioned that they were going to federally legalize back then, and it hasn't been done in 3.5 years. I know she's the VP, but she said herself that she's been in the room for the majority of the large decisions that her and Biden have made, and she was the last to leave the room and all that. She's been present for all of these things, so she has influence on these decisions being made, and I do think that if she really wanted it to happen, it would have been done already. Especially with these moves they made to free anybody from prison who was federally prosecuted for possession or something like that. There were specific terms. Not many people were released, but still they were doing things to make it look like they were cannabis friendly. So they could have taken that extra step and just been like, let's stop fucking around with all this bullshit and properly legalize cannabis. And pow, they're done, you know?
But
they
the
didn't,
banking, which is
so
the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. But that's what needs to change to make it more secure for the people who are selling the cannabis, essentially, to make sure that banking can be done. But we just have to wait and see. I don't even know how long, whoever wins either side, how long is it going to take after they've actually won, and then they have to take over on like January 20th as well. So you're waiting until then. But do you think it'll be one of these issues that are done in the first 100 days? You know, when will it actually happen?
Right.
No, this will be forced. This will be a forced thing. I think that I personally think that the federal government makes a lot of money off of busting cartels and all of this stuff. And so if you shut down that basically by legalizing it, it even happened in Colorado. Like the illegal cannabis for a long time went away for a while until everybody realized that the commercials scene is boof. And that would happen on a national stage as well. And I don't think any politician would want to do that unless the people above them were saying, all right, it's time to legalize cannabis on a federal level.
Yeah, a politician would rather boof you than like give you good weed.
Yeah, and charge you an arm and a leg like it sounds like Margaret's going through to get do you know how cheap it is to make a gummy, but especially a 10 milligram gummy? I mean, it's comical. Yeah, so they're making so much money, and then obviously the government just snatches it because they're probably figuring that out.
Well, as we said in the earlier article, they're taking 50%. If the government can see that, like, oh, they're making that much money, we're taking 50%. Okay, yeah, legalize that shit. There's been some talk about the legalization of recreational here in the UK. I've seen a few articles about it this week, but nothing important, nothing major which to bring here and be like, oh, look, they're going to do something. But at least there's stuff in the news. Maybe they're just getting people used to the water before they make everybody jump in. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens, man.
Well, let us drown, you mean?
Yeah, or let us drown. But then they don't have anybody to buy the cannabis, so they won't make as much money.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we have one more news article we'll quickly get to here before we go for the snail race. We have cannabis leaves molecular marks on DNA linked to psychosis. And I thought, gosh, let's see how they come up with this. You know what I mean? This is from Neuroscience, neurosciencenews.com. Summary: frequent use of high-potency cannabis leaves unique molecular marks on DNA, particularly affecting genes related to energy and immune function. Researchers found that DNA methylation and epigenetic modification, strange words, differed between frequent cannabis users who had experienced psychosis and those who had not, suggesting possible genetic link to psychosis risk. What the fuck does that even mean? They're saying it only leaves a mark on your DNA if you suffer from psychosis. Is that what they... You know more about this medical kind of stuff, Margaret. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I'm flattered that you say that.
It's basically saying some people got a more genetic risk to having psychosis from cannabis. So if they can find that gene or something in you, then they'll be able to say, okay, this person can't use cannabis because they're probably going to get psychosis from it.
I mean, that's potentially true. Sure.
Yeah, I seen it in the chat says the tested people with psychosis. So they tested people with psychosis. So they've gone and tested people with psychosis and found out that they had changes to the marks on their DNA. Okay. This discovery may enable DNA blood tests to help identify cannabis users more susceptible to psychosis, potentially informing future preventative approaches. As cannabis use becomes more prevalent, understanding its biological impact is critical, especially for mental health. So yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, that's the summary. They're going to go into more detail there. We don't really need to go into much detail than that. But I don't know, man. It's what do you think about this, Billy? What do you think?
I think they should study it at like a genetic level, just in case they do come up with something. But it's going to be very small because obviously we know the amount of people using cannabis worldwide. How many people have gone mental and chopped each other up with an axe? It's like very.
You're getting
very,
specific
very
there, so
little.
not many.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and also anyone else who has been blamed for chopping up with an axe or going mental because of the cannabis psychosis, it's like, well, have they been on other drugs at the same time? It's like there's lots of other factors involved. So,
lots need to be taken into
I do
consideration.
think at a genetic level it should be studied, just in case we do come up with something. Maybe we do have a gene that, and it might be rare and it'd be tested for, but then we just come up with. Probably they've come up with information that says, oh, actually, it doesn't really cause anything. We found it's all bullshit. And then it'd be another study that we found that proves cannabis is
Isn't
good.
it funny how they do this as well? How they're like, oh, look at this study, it can cause psychosis. But we don't see articles like, oh, look how cannabis helps with epilepsy. Look how cannabis helps with Parkinson's and MS and, you know, all this other shit. Even though there's evidence for that too.
Other string of things as well.
You are much more likely to see an article about the negative impact of cannabis use rather than the positive impact.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? All the studies are about the negative impacts rather than all the positive impacts it's having.
The more studies there are, the better, though, because at the end of the day, when there's more studies, if they're done properly, we are better informed, and that's the best way to be. The more informed you are, the better you're gonna have an experience. You know. But
also, like as you say, you have to look at who funds the research to find out what results they want at the end of it as well. So it's that type of thing. Maybe they'll find that medical cannabis is far safer.
I do happen to think, though, it's good to do studies like this because it's really easy to think, yeah, there's zero risk to smoking cannabis, but they are talking specifically about high potency cannabis products, which are probably more relatively new. Like you didn't used to be able to go in 50 years ago and buy like a
100 gram,
like
99%
THC vape pen and puff on that all day or whatever, right? Or like, you know, all the products that are available now. So
yeah, I do think that
as well.
I do think that psychosis, cannabis-induced psychosis, is a real thing, man. When it's like you mentioned earlier, Brian, about somebody taking a 100 milligram gummy, that's excessive, you know. And if somebody is perceptible to psychosis or cannabis-induced psychosis and take a heavy dose like that, then it can affect them for a long time, and it might, you know, affect them for the rest of their lives. It depends on what their body chemistry is like. So these things need to be studied for the safety of the consumer, and this is what all the little taxes should go towards paying. So it doesn't have to be paid for by a company and shit. It needs to be paid for by a government organization to make sure they're not biased. They're in an ideal world, at least. But that's not going to happen. But I think it's important to have these studies, definitely, and make sure that anybody who thinks they might be susceptible to cannabis psychosis can at least do a test and not just try it out and hope for the best, you know? Yeah. What do you think about this there, Brian? You got anything to add?
Yeah, I think having access to high doses of cannabis is dangerous to, especially to young minds or to people that are newer to cannabis, where that would be their first experience. And then they're now anti-cannabis because they had a horrific experience with it. And I would think that most people, if they've never tried cannabis in their life, smoking it or ingesting it in any way, would have a horrible time on 100 milligrams gummy, especially with the way the body breaks all that down. What that experiment or study was kind of saying is the exact opposite to what I've seen. The endocannabinoid system is understudied dramatically by the health organizations. I think that they secretly probably know that the human body is pretty capable of self-healing if things are done. There's fasting, there's autophagy, there's all these different ways that the body can heal itself just by kind of like slowing down. And I personally think, from seeing my son suffer from seizures, that THCA combined with CBD rubbed on a child's foot when they're going through a seizure most of the time stops that seizure. So why is there any pushback from that, right? Is because it's potentially a very cheap thing to produce for parents that have to deal with their children going through seizures. It's a very scary thing. But THCA, right, when parents that are uneducated with that, they think that out here in Colorado, we're getting kids stoned when they're going through a seizure. And that is anything but what's going on. And I've seen even news articles and media pushes and stuff where THCA is misrepresented. So I think there is power in having the CBD THCA molecule. And no study that I've ever seen ever really talks about the benefits of other cannabinoids. It's just either THC is good or THC is the devil.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's very interesting. And it's just good to see more studies like this, but we don't want to see them biased. And we want to see double-blind, accurate studies that are not fucking tainted in some way. Let's just hope for the best. But as I mentioned, I think, do we all agree there that high-dose cannabis can induce psychosis in some people? I think that's all agreed upon there, right?
Yeah, also a lot of people, what they call psychosis is just them fucking being really like ill on it, if you know what I mean. It's like if you drink fucking a lot of vodka, the first part of the drinking a lot is really fucking horrible, if you know what I mean. You're going to feel that psychosis as well, but it's not, because you just pass out at the end and almost die. But depends on which level of drinking you get to. So if you know what I mean, it's the education around the dosing, because they wouldn't have that freak out if they just had like someone educating them.
Don't people get like seriously fucked up health wise when they drink 11 cans of Red Bull because of the taurine?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, even
it's completely legal.
Yeah,
well, not completely. You have to be over 16 to buy it, so not completely legal. It is restricted in some way, but you know, you can buy as many. No, I'm not. If I go to Sainsbury's now, I could buy a 24 pack of Red Bull if I wanted to.
Yeah. It's about correct regulation, so there's not many restrictions, just mostly age and stuff, and then proper education and labelling, and that's really about as far as you need to go, isn't it? It's and then leave it to the responsibility of parents and educators, really, then, isn't it? So that's why most people don't die from alcohol.
Very interesting.
In the hood, you can break into cars using Red Bulls, so just think about that if you're ingesting that in your body.
Yeah, but Red Bull's bad, but I enjoy the taste of it.
Oh God, that's the worst part of
filth.
it, dude.
I don't know.
It's filth.
Yeah, it's not like I drink it often, and I didn't drink it for years. But when I was young, I went on holiday, and I drank a lot of Red Bull when I was on holiday. So when I drink Red Bull, it reminds me of those times when I was young and fit and could digest Red Bull properly. You know?
That sounds like a drug addict.
So
I'm emotional.
Yeah, I drink it for comfort, you know.
Right. It makes me feel good. I get the good warm feeling.
That's right. Each to their own, I say.
Yeah. They say that about heroin too, Macky.
Yeah, well, each to their own.
Gives me that good warm feeling.
It just feels like a big warm hug.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so interesting news articles there, everybody. I hope you enjoyed them all. They all seemed very interesting. I'd like to link together as well. It was like smooth segues into each news article. Very nice, professional it was, if I do say so myself. But in the cannabis news section, I just want to get some of these out the way. We have the snail race, which is going to be happening. We're going to do 2 snail races there during the break. And then over at Percy'sGrowroom.com, we have the Halloween competition, where you can get a bong or a pipe or something, get a cannabis plant and decorate or Halloween-y, or carve a pumpkin if you want to. You know, just get creative. We didn't want to just do a pumpkin carve off this year. We wanted to be a little bit more creative and give you guys the opportunity to be more creative as well. So, you know, make something Halloween-y and put it up over on Percy's Grow Room to enter the competition. And you might be able to win a desktop vaporizer. All of the entries will get put into a poll, and the community over at Percy's will vote on all of the entries, and the community will decide who is going to win. So get over there. Get involved. I think we should do a Halloween special next week. That's the episode before Halloween, right? You all good for that? You want to do a Halloween special next week? We'll tell some stories and shit.
Yeah, on Thursday you're on about, or actually on Halloween.
Oh, should we do it actually on Halloween? I don't think Margaret can make it on that day though.
Do both days then. And then we do some news stories. Find some.
Yeah, maybe.
What day is Halloween?
Thursday.
Thursday would be. I couldn't do Sunday. I have a show next week, but I love talking with y'all.
Yeah, man. Let's do it then. We'll organise it when we. Then we Halloween. I want to do a Halloween special on Sunday next week. We just so we have the Halloween episode for all the people who can't make the live stream as well, so we can do that. And then we can also do a stream on Halloween as well if everybody wants to do that as well. We can. I don't mind. I enjoy streaming. It'll be good to get everybody on there, so we can do that too. Sounds like a plan to me. But we also want to do an election special. We did an election special when the UK had their election recently. We followed some of the some of the parties and what they were going to do and shit. So we want to do that for the USA election as well. So we're going to give that a shot. If politics isn't your thing, then there's no need to tune in or anything like that. But I think it would make for a good episode and a good conversation as well. You're welcome to join us for that if you wanted to as well, Brian. That'll be on November 5th, election day. There's going to be. I don't even think YouTube's going to be able to handle it. Everybody is going to be streaming.
USA. It's going to be definitely that day, man. Everyone's going to crash.
Remember the 5th of November. And it's bonfire night here in the UK on November 5th as well. There's going to be fireworks going off all over the place. Going to be crazy.
Dogs barking and everything.
But I think that's just about all the news there. I'm sure there's more, but I always forget a little something, So we'll move on to the smoke break and we'll do some snail races. Let's do it.
Smoke break? I've been smoking the whole time.
What? What? Don't you know you can get psychosis?
Oh man, I'm feeling it. Oh, it's kicking in, man.
All right, so
is that a strain name? I'll have some of that then.
No, what happened last week? We had the Macky September giveaway over on Percy'sGrowroom.com. We do a giveaway every month. Haven't done one this month because we're doing so much for Halloween. But we had one for September, and if there was more than 25 entries, I said that we'd do 2 prizes. And when we did the race last week on last week's show, we only gave away 1 prize. We didn't get the second place. And it was brought to my attention. We had more than 25, so there should have been another one. So this is the secondary part of that because there was 2 prizes to give away. And Grape Ape, who won last week, he picked the Barney's Farm seeds. So this will be for the Dutch Passion seeds and stickers and keyrings and stuff like that. Go over to Percy'sGrowroom.com and check out the competition to see what exactly is up for grabs. But we won't do this one for 4 minutes and 20 seconds because it's a bit long. See that double click there, everybody? You saw it. If I press clear, is it going to just clear the timer or the names? Oh God, I'm scared now. I'm just going to do look. There we go. Look, now it's got 11 minutes.
Sorry.
It's not funny, Margaret. Right, I'm going to edit the list. I'm going to control and C that just in case it clears the fucking names as well. Right, no, it's cool. Right, so let's look. Okay, 1 Did you see that, everybody? You saw it on screen live. I clicked the mouse once and it went 1. So we got 1 minute and 11 seconds. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. And whoever wins this gets second place. Let's go.
Oh, there's so many entries.
Yeah, gotta stop that music. Help! Gosh. Gosh, that music's so bad. Okay, we're on 1 minute now. 11 seconds have gone by so quickly.
Where did you find this, dude?
I don't know.
Snail race?
Random searches. It's great, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah, we did a 24-hour snail race once. We did a 24-hour live stream on 420 last year or something. I don't know, a few years ago. It wasn't last year. But we did a snail race for 24 hours and just had the snails racing for the whole time. And in the last 5 seconds of the snail race, they just all sped up. The game all glitched out, and the snails started just flying everywhere anyway. And then, we picked a winner at the end. But damn, it was just mad how it all went crazy at the end like that. We've already got 20 seconds left.
Superman.
Yeah, Super
fucking hell, 20 seconds already.
Yeah, look at that. Because we usually do 4 minutes and 20 seconds in the race.
Who's going to have the slimiest patch?
Calimas is in the lead still. It looks like he's not going to be a check. 10 seconds.
It's hard to roll a blunt in a minute, Macky.
Oh, 4, 3,
cocaine
2.
Snail coming up.
Fucking hell, what happened to him? He's just dropped way back.
Oh,
got Turpopotamus.
Fucking hell.
Congratulations, good sir. You have won second place, so you'll be getting the Dutch Passion beans. You know what to do by now, bro. Drop me a message over on Percy'sGrowroom.com and we will get those prizes out to you. Very nice. Very nice. But now let's get the next one ready because we do have this double click. Oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh. Right, I'm just trying to get it off the screen. Which one?
50 screens up now.
That one? Okay. All right, so it's not on the screen. I have the names already lined up. This is for people who commented on last week's episode. We said we were going to do some monkey beans for that, I do believe. So I'll put those guys up on the snail race now. Let's do a Don't keep double clicking me, you piece of shit. How do I go back? How do I go back? All right, so this is just going to take... Oh, race again.
Orange.
No? Okay. See, I'm just fucking messing things up here. Anyway, talk amongst yourselves while I set this up. Okay. Does anybody need to go get a drink or anything like that?
I do.
Yeah,
Drinking
if you want to go
liqueurs,
grab a
smoking
drink.
weed.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Smoking weed, do it.
All right, fucking... Should we do Snail Race? Yeah, we'll just do Snail Race again, because we said Snail Race. Because we've got access to the other races there. The Duck Race and the Dinosaur Race and all of that. All right.
About
Get
1
the-
minute, 1 second again.
I don't know, it's just... There's only
Do
10
3
entries here.
minutes.
Only 10 entries on this one. Let me put this on the screen so you can see me triple click
No.
everything again.
No jokes there.
I didn't hear any joke. Yeah, just do 1 minute. I'm gonna click. Yes, 1 0 0. There you go. 1 minute. 1 minute for the 10 guys
It
who
got in.
commented on last week's video. Then, and don't worry, we're going to start taking everybody's name in a second. We're going to take 5 minutes to just take everybody's name down, so we can add you all to the Snail Race at the end of the show. So let's just get this one done. Set. 1 minute. Start. Turn that goddamn music off. There we go. We'll leave the cheers on. Wolfie's in the lead. Budsy Malone in second place. Oh no, Budsy Malone, just take the lead there. Phil Me Bowls is Phil as in Philip. Me Bowls as in cereal bowl. Everybody, it's not Phil Me Bowls as everybody thinks. All right, 39
These chocolate
seconds left.
salty ones.
Aussie Jim, remember that tune? God damn, you know that's like is like a classic tune now. It's been out for so long.
Yeah,
South Park,
it
Suck
is.
on My
It's
Chocolate
gotta be,
Salty
innit?
Balls. Yeah, it's gonna be a retro, man. Retro.
Retro. It's
And
old
speaking
school
of retro,
rave now.
Grand Theft Auto Vice City is like older than the setting was when it came out. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
15 seconds left. Got Pollyanna in the lead.
Bloody hell, they were
Let's see what
stretching out a bit there, isn't they?
Yeah, yeah. There's not
What's
so
going
many.
on?
You can see them all here this time.
Yeah.
Oh look, he's making a run for
There's-
it. He's making a
there's
run
one
for
gonna
it.
be
Oh,
slipping
look
forward.
at this pint-sized car coming up from behind.
Bloody hell.
Mad Dog gets it. Look at that.
Oh.
Look at that. Congratulations,
He
Mad
can't
Dog. You know what to do, sir. Get in touch.
This is so much cooler than when they spin the wheel.
Yeah, the wheel is we do
That
the wheel
shit's
sometimes.
played
It's
out.
easy, but
You
sometimes
don't
we
do that on the Macky show. You snail race.
That's right. We
The snail races are great.
they are good.
Yeah,
fun.
that
And
was
there's
fun,
lots of
man.
different races as well. So now, Billy, do you want to take down people's names? Are you able to do that, or should I do it?
Yeah, I can mention
we just want to
that.
give
I'll
it 5
draw
minutes.
a line.
Yeah, draw a line, and then we'll take down some names, and we'll give it 5 minutes just to add everybody to the list here, and we'll quickly do a snail race. We'll get some names. For fuck's sake! Sorry. It's this double click thing, man. I don't know why it does this.
How have you not bought another mouse by now?
Because this was an expensive mouse. I'm not giving up on it just yet. Man, it's fucking piss take. And it doesn't do it all the time. It's so temperamental. I think maybe if it just like, maybe it's got a bud under the button or something. You know? Alright, so I think, Billy, you drew a line, didn't you?
Yeah.
Alright. Edit list. Oh, fuck off. Sorry. Drives me crazy. Yeah, right, okay. So now we've got that. I'm going to put this on the screen so we can see what names we're adding. Is everybody ready? Oh my god, it's doing it again. Stay calm. Stay calm. Don't kill it. Okay, what names we got then, Billy? Let's go.
Okay, you've got Iceni.
Iceni, yes.
Yep. You've got J5 Fino. J5 PHO 20.
Yeah, photo. Yeah, photo
Yeah.
20. J5 photo 20.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
You got Emma and James.
Who's that?
I don't know. It's Emma and James.
It's just Emma and James. Okay.
Yep.
I thought you were giving me specific names for people there. I don't know.
No,
who they are,
no.
You know.
This cat grows.
Discount grows.
This cat, as in the pussy
Oh,
cat.
oh, grow cat. What's up, grow cat? This cat grows. Okay. Next.
You got Big Bad Wolfie.
Just gonna put Wolfie. Yep.
Yep.
Got Wolife.
Ballista.
Look at that.
There you go. Ballista.
Ballista, what's up, bro? Yep.
A Mad Dog.
Mad Dog, hungry for more beans.
Yep, little bean hunting.
Nice.
Yep, Back Blast.
Back Blast.
Art Man.
Art Man.
John Lewis. We
John
can go buy a
Lewis?
nice sofa.
You know, what's he doing? Listening to our streams.
You got Den Den.
Den. Okay.
You got Gellert.
Gellert. Yep.
You got Filmy Bowls again.
Come
Remember?
on, dude.
That's
You're telling me he didn't name it? I mean, come on, dude.
Oh shit! Your next one, Billy. Come on, concentrate, bro. I know you're
Okay,
just
sorry,
rubbing your thighs there. Okay.
yeah, I was too much fire rubbing again. Pony Express.
Pony Express. Yep.
Yep. Metal Rules.
Okay.
Smiley Guy.
Smiley guy. Yep.
Yeah, some Fire Top 95.
So fire top.
Well, yeah, man, what's up, Fire Top? And that's it at the minute.
Anybody
Everyone
else?
is no one else at the minute. Anybody else? Come on,
Anybody
last
else want to
races.
enter?
Come on.
Anybody? Say me,
Last-
please,
last
in the
flight.
chat, and we'll add
Sure,
you.
I'll enter.
Oh yeah, Margaret,
Grab
let's
your
go.
passports,
Margaret
your
is
bags,
entered.
and run for the gate.
Margaret has entered. You want to jump in there, Brian?
Yeah, throw me in there. That'll be fun.
Sweet. Anybody else? Anybody else? Imagine
Oh,
Margaret
there
just
is,
wins it
there
out
is.
now.
We
Right.
got some late entries here. We got
Okay.
Laurie Edburn.
Okay.
When we got another one, Erica Almeida.
If your name's
Got
spelled
cook-
incorrectly on the screen, I apologise, everybody. But
Yeah.
we know who you are. Don't worry.
Cookie Grow.
Did Billy forget to scroll down, and that's where you have all these late entries? Is that what it is?
No, they're just coming in. We got SG2.
So
I'm on live as well. SG2. Me Please is begging. Back Blast is already in. He's trying to sneak in there again. Well, we got D4 and then what? D4 Vemp or something. Just put D4. Did
Yep,
see him? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Allen. Me Bob.
Right, yeah, I know what you mean.
Mr. Terps.
Yep.
Come on,
Right.
last call.
Yeah, draw a line, close it.
Draw a line, quick.
That's enough, folk. There, 26 is good. You drew the line?
Wait. There you go.
Right, so.
Look, Bob Robertson just missed out.
Is it below the line?
It is
If
below
it's
my
below the
line.
line, it's a bit too late. We have
Yeah.
if your name is in between those two lines and you don't hear your name on the list, then let us know and we'll add you. We have Iceni, J5420, Emma and James, This Cat Grows, Wolfie, Ballista, Mad Dog, Backblast, Artman, John Lewis, Den, Gellert, Filmy Bowls, Pony Express, Metal Rules, Smiley Guy, Firetop, Margaret Bryan, Laurie Edburn, Erica Almeida, Cookie Grow, SG2, D4, and Robbie Allen, Mr. Terps. And that's it. Yes, that's everybody. Okay? Anybody hear your name there, Matt, in between the lines? Then we're good for now, right?
Yeah, it's quite quiet then. So yeah.
Okay,
no one
cool.
spoke.
Well, we'll leave it like that for now. And should we spin it now? We'll do it at the end. Let's fuck it. Let's do it now.
Do it.
We're gonna just do 1 minute again. Be very there you go. Look at that. Just to get it done, and we can move on to the grow guides. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Good luck, everybody. For 3, Durban Dude, Dutch Passion Seeds. Let's race. Look at it. It's pausing the cut. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Turn that music off because it drives me crazy. It's such a cheery tune. All right, 50 seconds left. We got D4 in front so far. Archman is also way in the lead there. John Lewis is sneaking up with his sofa. J5420. Woe Life. Damn, that's got spelled a bit wrong. Look, John Lewis there. Gosh, way in the lead. That means you
He's
ain't
got
gonna
that-
win,
He's doing
unfortunately. You know,
He's got some money, you see. That's what he is. He's bought an early lead off the referee.
used all his energy too early. That's the problem. You got to use the energy of the guy just in front of you. That's what you got to do, and then take over at the end. Yeah, 15 seconds. Who's it going to be? Firetop is just about in the lead, sneaking up there.
Oh, look, that Alan dude's
Oh,
getting in.
Oh, look at this. Look at this, Margaret. Look at
Oh,
this.
my God.
Look
Look.
at this. She's sneaking up. Oh,
Rigged.
oh my
It's rigged.
gosh.
Are we serious?
Oh, look. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans going on. Oh, my
I can't
God.
believe I won.
God.
Nice.
That
Congratulations,
seems so
Margaret.
rigged.
You know?
That-
Shenanigans, everybody.
Shenanigans,
It's like,
yeah.
should we do it now? Margaret's like, yes, let's do it now.
Yeah. No wonder she wanted to do it now.
I never thought I would win, but I just want to take a second and thank my dad,
Beautiful.
my kid,
Yeah.
and the
But your
past,
agent,
my
your agent
homegirl.
must have had a part of it or something.
Well deserved,
that's
Margaret. There's some nice beans there as well for you to, and you know, if you want other ones, then let me know. I've got a whole list
Well,
of
it
things.
just so happens that I could use some because guess who set up their new tent last weekend?
Billy.
No, me.
Oh, right. Yay.
Nice. So when are you getting started? You just need some beans to get started now, yeah?
Yeah, and the fan. I ordered the stuff from this place, and I don't know how I forgot to order the fan.
You mean extractor fan, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I even went back and checked the order, like, why is this not here? And somehow I took it out of the cart, so I still have to have that shipped.
Nice.
But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm pretty much ready to go. I recruited my sister while she was here visiting me for Thanksgiving to help me put it together.
Oh,
'Cause I
right.
don't
So it's
think
a
I could've
big
done it
tent.
by
You got a
myself.
4x4, right?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay then. It's good. You're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna need more than 3. We'll sort you out, Margaret. We'll sort you out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll get it sorted. Well, with that, I think it's time for the grow guides. We should move on to that. Everybody ready?
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably.
Congratulations.
Yes.
No, thank you.
Sounds like a resounding yes. Let's do it. Episode 16 of the Grow Guides, everybody. And so far, as I like to say every week, we've gone through absolutely everything you need to know about growing cannabis so far. And if you're following week by week, then right now you should just be starting where the flowers will begin to grow on your plants. So you've gone through all the veg stage, you've gone through the stretch, and now you've got actual flowers starting to grow on your plant. They're female flowers, you're ready to go. And what we're going to focus on now is how you're going to get the best out of those flowers. How you're going to make them nice and tasty. How you're going to make them nice and juicy, big, juicy, tasty buds. How do you get to that stage? And it's got to be a few weeks. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to have big, juicy buds. Over the flowering period, there's certain things you can do to increase the size and the quality of the buds at the end. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. You want to get all that covered so you have a good chance of getting the good shit by the end of the grow. Right, there's loads of things to cover here, so I don't even know where we should begin. What recommendations would each person here give to get the best out of their grow? What kind of thing would you do, Brian, when you hit the flowering stage? What kind of things would you implement into the grow to make sure you're getting the best quality and yield out of the plants?
So my growing style is a living soil style. And so basically year round, I still have the same game plan, and that is to create diversity within that soil system. So to build healthy plants within a living soil system, I would need to be thinking about flower while I'm in veg. And so I'm using things like avocado tech, adding kefir for calcium, adding the proteins from the avocados itself, building up the worm populations for that so that the breakdown of organic matter happens a lot quicker so that those vegetative plants can grow larger and healthier. That is the fastest way, I think, for a living soil farmer to start to get to the yields that they are after from conventional methods, is by building up that diversity as quickly as possible. And so thinking in a veg and flower format, that's not really how that works anymore. Thinking in a pH or a ppm volume, I mean, you can still monitor those things if you want to, but praying leaves are praying leaves, and healthy plants are healthy plants. You don't always need the fanciest equipment to know that you're growing healthy plants. And when I was growing synthetically, I grew boof. When I let Mother Nature take hold, and then I just started to play around with things and try to improve on Mother Nature, because she's perfected this. She can grow anything with a healthy soil. So then those skill sets allow you to grow healthier food. You can monetize those skill sets, and you can grow cannabis for yourself, where it is truly a medicinal plant, because you're using the microbial world to break down organic matter into carbon.
Yeah, that's a good fucking answer right there. Jesus.
How does anybody follow up from that? I mean,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I want to hear, because that's what I want to pull off my own tent now. But
No, but it's a good point, because the diversity in the soil, especially in the living soil situation, is it's important. And starting in veg is definitely a good point as well. A few people in the chat there have mentioned using lactobacillus as well. And using kefir to get the calcium, fucking good idea there too. So if you're growing organics, then that's definitely a great way to go. You grow organics in living soil, Billy. Is there anything that you do at these stages to try and improve the quality and yield of the cannabis?
I'll make sure there's plenty of bokashi in my soil to start with.
What do you mean by bokashi?
Do you know the breakdown of like the fungus? So
it's like a fermented IMO.
Yeah. It's the food, just food broken down, basically. Yeah.
Right, like in a worm farm or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just add the top dressings, things like banana peel, kelp meal, whatever, back guanos in it, bone meal, organic worm castings and shit like that. It's in it. I get a pre-ordered one from Dr. Organics, but like it's just basically a 2-8-10 bloom mix pre-done for you. Just saves me a lot of hassle with collecting all the ingredients, really. But yeah, it's just adding the right amount, but it's mixing it. I mix mine with a little bit of soil as well, rather than mixing it with the topsoil. I mix the fresh soil, put it all on top, water it in well good, let it dry, then water it in well good again, and then normally repeat that twice if I want more terpy, bigger, fatter plants. But it depends on how, if the plant's doing really well, then it doesn't need the second top dressing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
Phil out there in the chat is just mentioning how Brian's answer has made his socks wet. Nice, Phil. Vulgar.
There you go.
Vulgar. What about you, Margaret? I mean, you've grown so many different ways, but you're looking to do it organically now. Is this something you're going to be doing?
Yeah. I don't know if I really have anything to add to this, because I haven't really been growing indoors in so long, and I've just been doing outdoors, which is often at the mercy of the environment that I'm actually growing in. So I'm more taking notes today than anything.
Cool,
I'm just hoping that I grow something that's not, as Brian would say, boof. And I'm going to start with a nice living soil, which I already made. Like I have soil made up that'll be ready to go. But
seems like so many people
proud of that booth if you grow that booth, because that's your booth.
Yes,
fucking word of the day this week is boof.
But you will improve. You will improve. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Sponsored by Spoof, the weed. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me as a salt-based grower, I just add some PK, and I don't really do anything else other than that. What I like to do, and this is the first point we'll move on to here, is getting the correct strain in the first place. If you get good genetics, then a lot of the battle is already done. You can grow bad genetics really well, but you can grow good genetics really, really fucking well. You know what I'm saying? So starting off with a strain that's well known for big buds and good flavors in the first place is a great direction to head in. And that's why my cannabis tends to be really nice, is because I use good genetics rather than me being a good grower, because I'm a very lazy grower nowadays, so I don't really put much effort into it. I just make sure that the stuff I use is good and I use it correctly, and it produces nice cannabis for me. So I would recommend that would be the first thing, is just getting a good strain that you enjoy. Of course, test as many cannabis strains as possible and be like, oh, I really like this Jack Herrera, I want to grow this, and then go ahead and grow that. And then there's lots of things that you can do to make the buds grow fatter and tastier, like was mentioned there if you're growing living soil. But first off, we want to be feeding the flowers nicely as well, don't we? And boosting the PK in some way. Now, when you grow in salt-based nutrients, that's pretty easy. Whichever brand of nutrients you're using. And we discussed all this in the nutrients episode if you want to go check that one out. But whichever brand you've decided to use, there'll be a PK booster of some kind. With Canna, it's PK13. With advanced nutrients, you've got Big Bud and Bud Candy. You know, there's things like that which are going to have a large amount of potassium and phosphorus in it, specifically to feed the flowers and give it the energy that it needs. But there's
That's
also
mostly cranberry juice and yucca extract, just so y'all know.
for real, man, for real. And it smells like marzipan and shit. It's like you can make that yourself if you knew what you were doing. You know, you don't have to pay £30 for a fucking liter.
Yeah.
It's expensive shit. You can make it yourself.
Don't pay money for yucca extract. You know, I mean, come on. Let's learn to read labels like we do when we feed ourselves.
Yeah, man. Some people, anyway. Some people just eat what is there. They don't even read the labels, you know. But what was you saying there? I'm going a little bit off track. Yeah, make you
You're talking about the boosters. You're talking about all the big boosters.
Yeah, and essentially that's it. And if you want the big flowers, you need to give it plenty of PK, but it also needs a good amount of calcium as well, so the plant's got the energy to actually build these flowers too. So it would need a step up in PK, maybe a little bit more calcium, magnesium, reduce the nitrogen. This is usually done with your grow newts if you're using that anyway. But when you're going through living soils, what would you do there? Like to boost the PK, Brian, what would you use to boost the PK content in the soil?
So again, with a living soil, the plant is communicating with the microbes in the soil system. So when the plant is basically dictated by the sun, that's why you need a 12-12 flip to produce flower. So when they're in a vegetative state, the microbes are already producing all that. The easiest way I've ever heard anybody describe it is Jeff Lowenfels, where he says, okay, my microbial world is communicating with the plant. The plant needs more PK. But in our vision as a human being, that would be like, okay, tonight I would like to have a burger. And so the plant communicates through sugars, pumping out through the roots itself to this microbial world. Hey, big boss up there wants some burger tonight, and he's giving, or technically she's giving out free sugar for everybody tonight. So if you go and you mine these certain PK nutrients so that we have these in store. And so the microbial world is a 24/7 type thing. Everything is working in a symbiotic relationship. So that's why I was saying more. To me, the focus, if you're trying to prove on nature, is truly about calcium, but also silica. Silica needs to be something so that you can maintain these big, heavy buds that you're trying to grow. Especially in a living soil system, in a newer living soil system, if you don't have that silica, the plant basically can kind of stop. Or if you over fertilize with nitrogen, the plant will also kind of stop when she gets into flower, and you'll get these really tiny buds because she's still burning off that nitrogen. So there's a Goldilocks approach with this kind of stuff compared to synthetic methods where you do pump her with all of these big PK boosters. The living soil aspect is more, I'm thinking long term. That's how the kind of the group views growing cannabis is, yes, this flip might not be the best, but my shit is improving week after week, month after month, year after year, so that by the time I get to like a year 2 farmer, year 3 farmer, your skill sets have improved so much that you can also protect the plant. So you're using Mother Nature to grow the plant. You have more free time for yourself to understand what IPM even means, integrated pest management, because you have to have the skill sets to protect the plant just as much as you do to be able to grow the plant if your audience ever really wants to make this on a monetary scale. That's where the grower makes a lot of money on the commercial side of things, is protecting the suit's investment. And that comes from growing, at least in this world, a very healthy soil system from day one. So we don't focus on NPK anymore. We focus on diversity of the microbes, and we continue to feed organic matter. Now we can continue to improve on that by, like I said, adding a little bit of calcium and stuff, but these are very small nuances compared to the early like 50-50-50 formulas and stuff that you would kind of see being sold and passed around online as recipes for success.
Does does seaweed have a lot of silica in, or any certain amounts? Could they breed find a specific seaweed which would be more beneficial for living soil for cannabis, because there's various strains, isn't there? So
and
it's best for cannabis use.
Well, like horsetail in my world would be better. Seaweed to me is more like on trace nutrients. I believe there's like 62 or 63 trace minerals that they found in seaweed. but you have to be obviously cautious with that because there's obviously a lot of heavy minerals in the
Yeah,
sea. And so you got to
exactly.
go
So
Icelandic. If you
yeah,
buy
that's the
Icelandic
issue.
seaweed,
Yeah.
then you're gonna find success.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would be a good part of the market to hunt, is that get that in your grove, because obviously like the seas are a bit polluted. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a specific ones? Would there, so any seaweed in Iceland, or would there be a specific type of seaweed in Iceland would be better to, like, for someone for business opportunity, maybe got a bit of money, set up a seaweed farm for.
It's an old brand. It's like EPITOME. They did some research on that, and that seaweed has the least amount of heavy metals, and they've been around for a long time. I obviously have nothing to do with a company or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will also say that Brandon Rust, if you're familiar with his work, he co-signs all of that stuff, and he goes on a whole nother level than I could ever teach anybody. So if you really want to go down that level, you could probably Google Brandon Rust seaweed, or talk on seaweed, and I think there's a couple podcasts that he spoke on that specifically.
Just because like where I live in Cornwall, right, it'd be really nice to go and collect our seaweed here, but I know what they pump into the seas here, so it's like, well, no, I'm definitely not going to go and fucking.
Well, poop might be good too, man. You can add some poop, right?
Exactly. I think it's like human feces rather than the fish. Is like, I don't fucking think so, mate. Like,
no, you want to go cold manures. So you want to use bunny rabbit or alpaca and stay away from anything else unless you're already buying it, like because that's going to be a hot manure if you just put that stuff on there.
I've got lots of cows around here and sheep, but I don't really fancy.
Yeah, that's going to stink though, man.
Yeah, man, that's going to be stinky shit, man. Fuck that. Yeah.
And this is something that gets brought up. This is something that gets brought up a lot as well, is the bacteria in the medium, and this can be used to some extent in hydroponic mediums as well. But you have to be careful when using extra bacteria because it can get funky if it doesn't get enough air and shit. But like using the lactobacillus, I've heard a lot that sulfur, and I know it's not a microbacteria and shit, but sulfur is used a lot to increase the flavor of shit as well, because that produces terpenes or some shit. Has anybody heard anything about that?
Hey, I want to correct Keystone Cultivators right there. That person is correct. It's ESP. I didn't spell it correctly. ESPOMA. Yeah. That one has the lowest, like, it's been tested, tried and true, and the brand's been around for a while. Because if you go online and you order kelp, just so people don't do this, you could potentially really shoot yourself in the foot by ordering cheap kelp.
Cool. Yeah, and this is all good when you're growing in organics and shit. You can use all these plant-based things, but if you're growing in hydroponics, then it's a little bit different. It's not as easy to use different bacterias with a hydroponic medium. It works with some, like in cocoa. Yeah, you might be able to get some of them to work. Well,
you become a brand. You usually find a brand and you stick with your brand. I think that's how that kind of works.
Yeah.
Get pet rabbit.
What? Even if you're growing in hydroponic mediums.
Yeah, because that's why I'm in hydroponic mediums. I think most growers find their brand, find their additives, then keep NPK boosters and stuff that they need. And that's why no one wants to kind of share secrets in that world, because it's easy to say, hey, I buy this, I buy that. Where in the living soil world, it's Mother Nature. So it's pretty hard for anybody to be pompous and say, like, this is I created this style.
By tech.
Right. So that's why I think there's more people willing to share information. And you see that a lot more, especially in the last 5 years or so, of people going from, like, I have a little show even on Friday nights that we've been doing. This gentleman's name's Kevin, and he started watching myself when I was on a show with this dude named Leighton Morrison. And from that point till today, this weekend, he is now teaching the stuff that we were talking about. So this is the kind of like full circle that I think the living soil world is just a little more forgiving and maybe welcoming to the newer grower. Like no one thinks that you're going to take money away from them or something, because the reality is the older the soil is, the better it's going to be. So if somebody's in their 45th cycle, there's no way that Margaret could come to town and steal away all their super awesome secrets, right? Because Mother Nature perfected it. So that grower is going to be more willing to teach Margaret how to, from day one, protect the plant, grow a healthier plant, all of the main structures that you need to start out so that you can have healthy perpetual flips, because that's the real flex in life, is to have cannabis that is growing perpetually, where it's improving month after month, year after year.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, the whole living soil thing is taking off. A lot of people are doing it now, and it's good to see because it's not only better for the plants, better for the consumer, but it's better for the environment as well. It's just better in
It
so
sounds
many
like
different
it's better
ways.
for the community too, because no one's just gatekeeping the information, and it's that recognition that we can all do well.
Yeah. Yeah, people are heading that direction for sure. I'm still growing in the salts though. I'm still there. Well, one day I'll move over to the organics. Well, go back to the organics because I did it for a while. But I find cocoa so easy, you know. This is the thing with cocoa, and all I use for my grows is the Canna A and B and some PK 1314. That's all I use, and my shit turns out good. Because as I said, I pick good genetics in the first place, and then there's things that go along with that as well, like making sure that you're harvesting at the right time, and that will make sure that the plant tastes better and is fatter. You cut it at 6 weeks instead of at 8 weeks. You're going to look at a massively different yield, and the peak production of the terpenes and the cannabinoids is going to be off because you haven't harvested at the right time and shit. So all that needs to be taken into account as well. You know, it's part of it's coming from the soil, but there's also things you can do above ground that makes a difference too. So do you do any, Billy? Do you do any of that kind of stuff? You like, well, what I was just saying there, I forgot what I was just fucking saying. I'm just getting distracted by chat.
I don't know. I weren't really listening to you, mate. You were just waffling on some shit, to be honest.
Talking about like making sure that you harvest the plants at the right time
Yeah.
to get the best flavor and the yield out and things like that. You know, some
I suppose it
training.
depends on each plant, really. I just decide on when that's ready, and I'm not because I grow perpetually, and it's quite difficult to decide when. You know what I mean? So yeah, mostly sort of it's all similar stages when it's just starting to go like brown on the ends, but
you just know the right
say,
time,
really.
But
Yeah,
harvesting at the right time is important.
Yeah, because you look at it and you think, I think I'll harvest it now because it's got a chance of like any mold if it's gone too long, or you know what I mean, and things like that. Because some plants you can stretch a bit longer, and it might be ready on week 9, but like you can definitely have another week to bulk out a bit more. And
what about you, Margaret? Do you have any questions about any of this so far?
No, I don't think so. I think I just have to get started on it. And
that's the best way. Yeah, once you get started, then you've got no choice. You have to learn it. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best thing to
I
do.
think that's the best thing about what I find about how I'm growing is I'm learning very quickly because I'm seeing all the stages all the time. Do you know what I mean? Rather than one at a time, I'm getting all the stages all the time.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like it's difficult in a way, but it's also more interesting, I find.
So what other things can we do to increase the yield when it comes to the flowering stage of cannabis? Of course, we can use a decent light, right? Making sure that you have the best light possible, because that light is going to be converted into food, which plant's going to use to make itself grow bigger and fatter.
Use your whole house.
Yeah. Uses... Don't do that, Billy. Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Gosh. Gosh. Such a bad influence. Well, what would you suggest here, Brian? Would you have any suggestions here on like when it comes to lighting?
Yes, I would say that in the early days, it seemed like power mattered. So there was HPS bulbs, and then there became these things called double enders. The issue with that is not that they were. Sorry, what?
Billy just likes a double ender, mate.
I
never even caught that before. Yeah, that's probably. Hey, that's what they call them, man. I don't know what.
Yeah. Come in the green room with me, and I'll show you what it means. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of education, Billy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Both happen in the basement, I would assume.
Yeah.
That's Monday's show. Calm down, Billy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So these lights were powerful. They would grow dense buds, but like if you're growing as a home grower in a basement or not having high enough ceiling, that usually meant that you would have to pay to cool these lights. And so you would either be in a home, or if you were trying to do it kind of just putting it together, you would have to buy like a mini split or something. The reality is that the LEDs have now, with all of those costs factored in, the LEDs are now a better purchase. And so in my opinion, it now comes down to what is your budget? And I would put more of my budget if I was starting out into the lighting, because you can at least with the living soil system, you can cut a lot of costs by kind of building up your system as you go, put a little more money in your pocket and continue. But from a lighting standpoint, you need that from day one. And so I would personally only buy an LED. You're going to have to do your own research. There's a lot of brands, a lot of variables out there to say like, hey, go with this one. But the reality is that American LEDs seem to last longer, have the lights not flicker out and stuff than some of the other international brands.
Nice.
And so I would save up my money and buy an American-made company that you've researched that seems like they've been around for a while and that has a 1-800 number. So if something goes wrong, you can reach them instead of it only being through email.
HLG is the one for us. They are sponsors over at postysgroom.com. We've had loads of competitions from HLG. Good guys. And I have got an epic HLG light that just produce some fucking fine cannabis. And Billy grows HLG as well, don't you, Billy?
Yeah, man. When I switched to it, LEDs, it just makes a big difference. Like I can't recommend LEDs enough, and obviously HLG on top of that, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man. I find that it's a very important factor. The whole, if you want to grow quality buds and fat buds as well, making sure you have a good light, the best light
quality
you can afford.
LEDs. Yeah, I think spending like that 500 to 700 on some decent LEDs is probably the best investment you could do, really.
Yeah. And eventually it'll pay for itself, because it'll produce enough cannabis to be worth it. When you're paying £800 for a grow light, what's that, 4 or 5 ounces? I'm not saying sell that, but you're not buying that, so you're going to save money. So eventually, and if you use the cheaper light, then you're going to get 3 ounces less because you didn't use this quality light. To really pack out that yield, you want the best light you can afford, and eventually it pays for itself because it's just going to produce more than other lights would. So bear that in mind as well. So HLG is dog's bollocks, man. I can't recommend them enough. High quality lights. I love my HLG. Good shit. And it definitely makes a difference with yield. Making sure. And somebody mentioned Micro out there as well. Micro, you do YouTube channel Micro. Everybody should know Micro. They are quality lights as well. So check Shane out over on Micro as well. That's some good shit. So it just depends on what your budget is, but like Brian said, you just gotta put as much money as you can into your lights and try and save money elsewhere. If you can't afford the good shit just yet, just try get the best one you can.
Yeah, I think between them two companies, there ain't many out there that can rival. It's also the diodes used and the build quality, and that sort of service.
And we got Stephen from HLG on the show for an interview as well at some point, so it's in the interview section. And if you head over there, he explains why his lights are so much better than everybody else's. But they've got this deal with Samsung where they get the new LEDs or diodes sooner than everybody else, and they get to build some fucking quality shit. So check them out, man. Check out that interview. So if the best way I find, if you're keeping a happy, healthy cannabis plant, because that's just important in the first place. If you keep it happy and healthy and well fed, it's going to produce a large amount of buds. But along with that, if you have high quality light to go with that as well, then you're going to get even more, and even more cannabis and of a better quality as well. So make sure that you do get a good light to go along with all of the other hard work that you're putting in. Yeah, so bear that in mind. So what else can we say about getting higher quality, higher yield? What else can we add to this kind of stuff? I mean, keeping the plant happy and healthy, as I mentioned. But how can you do that during flower? What kind of environment do you want to keep the plant in when it's going through the flowering stage to improve the quality and the yield of it? How do you keep? You don't monitor your temperatures, do you, Billy?
No, man. I just let nature take its course. So,
let nature take its course indoors in a grow tent under a light.
Yeah, exactly.
With the electric wind blowing at it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing I've heard on that topic. Just let nature take its course when you're the god in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how God works, though, isn't it? He just sits there and watch it happen and goes, yeah, that do.
God gave us the technology,
Yeah, exactly. That works, that do. I don't worry about temperature fluctuation because then you have to worry about with heating, precise extraction machines, and it's like I don't really need it where I am, and it's just added expense and and
Yeah.
pointless time.
Yeah, I know exactly, because
not
it's the same for
needed.
me. You might as well not check, because I ain't gonna put a heater in there because it costs me a fortune. I ain't gonna put aircon in there because it costs me a fortune. So if it's too hot, you're gonna have to deal with it. If it's too cold, you're gonna have to deal with it. You know.
Yeah, you're a plant that grew on the mountains or in the
Mhm.
valleys of California, so I'm sure it's going to get a little bit cold and a little bit hot sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe. But that's how I see it anyway.
Well, we tend to say about 26°C is good temperature during the daytime for flowering plants. And you don't really want to go too much warmer than that because you got to worry about these terpenes evaporating and shit. So you want to try and keep it as cool as possible, but not too cool. You don't want it going like 24, 23. You don't want to getting down below 18, I wouldn't think, in the daytime. I think that would be far too cold for it, just for the day. At the night time, that would be fine. But during the day, you want it around those mid-20s in Celsius. Would you agree with that, Brian? What kind of temperature are you looking at when you have your plants running?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what genetics I'm growing, to be fair, but I would keep it somewhat tropic with a lot of airflow. So I would almost say that would be roughly between like 82, or I'm sorry, 72 to probably in the summer months, we would try not to let it get higher than 82. But if you can completely control the situation, I wouldn't want to get higher than 78 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, nice. And good point there with the airflow as well. You know, you got to keep the air flowing when the flowers are growing, because otherwise you're going to get mold. So yeah, keep that air flowing, and the plant can breathe better that way as well, making sure there's enough airflow.
Yeah, more plants don't mean more money. Like if you're putting so many plants in there that it's going to stifle airflow, you're going to create more problems than the more money in your pocket. And I learned that a long time ago. So
yeah,
99 plants causes problems.
Man, 5 plants causes problems. You see, if I would grow 5 plants in my 4x4, they just all will be unhappy because they're all just squashed into the into this space. But if you go 4 instead of 5, just have 1 plant extra. They're much happier because they're not all fucking fighting for space. You know, so do bear that in mind, everybody. Don't have too many plants, because it would just, you probably end up less with them what you would have done if you took the extras away. The plants like space. Airflow is very important. This helps the plants breathe, and you know, when the water's evaporating off the leaves and shit, then water's being soaked up through the roots as well. It helps the plant eat and drink more, which helps it grow. So you need that good airflow for so many reasons. You know, there's this whole thing called VPD, but we won't get into any of that complicated shit just yet. That's way further down the line when we get to VPD. But if you just keep your temperatures and your humidity in a decent environment, then the plants are going to be happy. The humidity shouldn't really go any higher than 60 degrees maximum. I mean, 55 is really maximum, but pushing it at 60. Any higher than that, you're looking at a higher chance of mold. So just keep plant happy, healthy. About 50 to 55% room humidity should be nice. And yeah, around 26 degrees Celsius. If you can keep that throughout the grow, then the plants will finish off nicely. But when you're getting towards the end, do you reduce temperatures or change the spectrum of light that they're getting, Brian? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I've played around with a lot of that stuff. I think if you have the time, again, if you're like a home grower, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do any of this stuff. But if you can put your plants under like 48 to 72 hours of darkness, kind of playing around, we used to even put ice cubes on the roots. I don't necessarily, in hindsight, think that did anything, but potentially caused problems. But the goal was to kind of like freeze her up a little bit. Supposedly that would kind of push out the last little bit of trichomes. That might be bro science at this point, but I don't think the darkness aspect to it, with keeping the temperatures down from whatever your central heating or air system you're using, or your like mini split system if you're like in a tent or something. So from that standpoint, I think keeping her down probably around like 65 to 68 in darkness, 2 to 3 days, I have found that does seem to find success with just the shimmer and the plant kind of eating up some of the last things because of the darkness.
Yeah, it's like you say, that whole bro science thing. It might be bro science. There's loads of things that might be bro science as well, isn't there? Like putting the ice on the soil for a few days in the last week there to try and bring out more purples. What other crazy bro science stuff is there? You said putting the nail in the stem. Seen that one? People putting that in the
I've
stem
heard that.
sometimes.
Probably
And
from the show.
yeah, probably. It's there's all these little things, and the only thing that I've seen that I think has been proven to actually make a difference, and done studies on that shit, is drought stress. And like after and like week 3 or 4, and then week 6 or 7 in the flowering period. Have you heard of that one before? Where you let the medium like pretty much completely dry out. It's going to be harder to do in living soils because you don't want that to happen. But traditionally in normal soils or hydroponic mediums, then you let it dry out to stress it out to get more terpenes and trichomes out of it.
Yeah, I would say you definitely want to know what lane you want to be in and where you see yourself, and you need to almost kind of start thinking of this as like chess moves. So whatever your vision is, then you buy into, okay, this is how I'm going to grow a healthy plant and veg. This is how I'm going to grow a healthy plant and flower. In a living soil, again, you kind of start from day one thinking about all of that. In synthetics, it is kind of based on day by day, week by week. There's a ton of charts out there that you can follow. But when it comes down to the end part of it, most people are so in a rush to finish the plant, especially in the early days of them trying to do this, that they forget that the art form comes from curing the plant and kind of letting her dry out and that kind of stuff, like you had mentioned. So I feel like living soil does that, but we chop the plant and then we let her hang if that's the vision that you're after. Some people even like to chop and then do fresh frozen. Letting it dry out the same way you would do that Macky just mentioned in a living soil system, in my opinion, that would be more detrimental than it would be worth.
Yeah, that's it. All these little bro sciencey things, do they work? Do they? What I like to do and what I recommend everybody do is just keep the plants happy and healthy. If it's happy and healthy, then it's going to keep producing bud and terpenes and shit. I don't like to mess around with any kind of stuff like that. Like the 3 days darkness, I don't like that because you're so susceptible to mold during them days. I don't want it sitting in darkness and then not being checked, where you know there could be fucking bud rot growing in there, you don't even know about it. So I don't do that kind of thing. I just like to run it normal, just keep it as consistent as possible for as long as possible, and the plant seems to be happy with that shit, I find. But what else can we do to increase yield? Is there anything else? Because feeding it correctly, nice lights.
I would add experience. The more experience you can get, the better the yield's going to be, regardless of how you're growing the plant.
That checks out. I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Because you just get used to it.
Talk in soft, salty tones and stuff like that. Yeah. Or like a bluesman. Yeah, play music and things like that. That's what you're on about.
No, that's bro science too, isn't it? There's some evidence to say that if you played insect sounds and shit around the plants, then that can make a difference, because the plants can pick it up and think that one of the plants close to it is under attack by beetles, because it recognizes the sound, so it starts to produce more terpenes and resins to make sure that if it did get attacked by insects, then it would stick to it and it wouldn't fare too well on a plant. Cannabis plant. I've heard that before. I don't know how accurate it is. I mean, I think plants are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and they do pick up things like that. Like if it's extra windy, then they'll grow thicker stems, and so they can tell from their environment what they should do during their growth patterns. And being attacked by bugs is not going to be any different, is it? In my opinion, anyway. Maybe is it just bro science? I don't know. I don't go playing insect sounds to my plants. I don't know. Anybody ever tried it?
Well, you're not.
No.
If you put insect frass in a living soil,
No, playing sounds. Oh, you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I know that's bro science for some, but if you play like morning music or
the morning chorus, like the birds and all that shit.
The birds and the insects and stuff that you had mentioned, that opens the stomata. And if you're newer to indoor farming, I think there's something to play around with that kind of stuff. Are you going to be made fun of if you tell your friends that you're doing that? Yes. But I think there's something to that. And I've also seen it. My own mother kind of proved this, kind of rubbed my nose in it, if you will. But she put a crystal even into one of my living soil beds and did not tell me. And through the grow, she kept asking me like, "Are any of the plants a little bit different?" And I kept saying, "Yeah, there's one in almost the back right corner that just seems a little bit healthier." And that one ended up having a crystal in it. Now, is that science? No, but I think there
But
might
to
be
be
something
fair,
to.
if she was able to sneak a crystal in there, she could have been feeding that plant as well while you weren't looking.
Nah, she doesn't. She lives in Atlanta. My
Mm.
point
Oh,
is, my point is that I've stopped viewing the world, especially to be fair, after I smoked DMT, of saying that this is how the world works in this box, right? And I think growing plants, if you're really into this and you want to grow cannabis as medicine, you have to stop kind of putting everything into that box first. Because yes, we understand growing plants to a point. Do we understand soil? Not really. And so to say that this is the way it is, A plus B will always equal C, I think is misinformation. And I'd like to give an example because Dr. Lane Ingham used to say that anaerobic, meaning the stinky stuff that you usually see, JLFs, that kind of stuff, had no value in a soil world. And now because of Chris Trump and people like him, she now views that in a different light. And I think sometimes the brains and the mentors and the stuff that people look up to, they're also human beings. So they're kind of pigeonholed into whatever their belief system is. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff, the bro science is still there and it should be mocked and laughed at if it's been proven wrong. But I also like the aspects of some of the music or kind of taking some of this stuff to the next level of there are some kind of hippie-ish type belief systems that cannabis, once she recognizes that cannabis has been grown here before, she kind of relaxes a little bit, knowing that the minerals are already within that system. And there's a whole bunch of like books on that kind of stuff in a metaphysical way that if you're into that kind of stuff and not just strictly focused on a science-based viewpoint, you might see that for yourself with your own eyes about how healthy that plant becomes. And then, of course, the praying leaves to me are the epitome, at least in veg, of that there's really nothing else you could do as a farmer. That plant is getting as best she can indoors.
nice. Yeah, man. So there's loads you can do, and it's all going to depend on what kind of medium you're growing in, what kind of experience you have, what kind of light you have. But there's all these little things you can do to improve the flavor and the yield of your cannabis plants. And experience is definitely a big one, isn't it? Like you're gonna learn things through every grow that's gonna improve the grow after it. So bear that in mind, everybody. But yeah, I think PK, definitely having some kind of PK booster if you're growing in salt-based nutrients, that is gonna be beneficial. Make sure you're not just feeding base nutrients to a cannabis plant in flower because it does like to have that extra stuff. Harvesting at the correct time, which we briefly mentioned there as well. You got to make sure that the plant is properly done and it's reached the end of its life, so it's at peak production of terpenes and cannabinoids. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many little things that you can take into account, isn't it, to get more yield and more flavor. There's not anything I can think of specifically that I do to try and make the buds bigger anymore or anything like that. It's just not a concern of mine. I don't try and chase big yields, you know what I mean? I do try and chase tasty buds, but big yields don't bother me so much. You will find the same? What do you do, Billy? Because you grow perpetual all the time, don't you, Billy? So you're not, you're probably not chasing yield either.
No, I'm just chasing healthy plants which fit their space and got a lot of space around them. So yeah, and obviously good genetics and good buds is what I'm really after. So yeah.
Yeah, so
I
pretty
get
much
good yields and consistent, so I don't need maximum yield.
Mm-hmm. So
Well,
pretty
I
much
think that's the nice thing
sorry,
about growing
Margaret.
for yourself. I was just saying, it's the nice thing about growing for yourself is you don't have to like be growing for maximum yield because you have other metrics that are more important anyway. If you're a huge commercial grower, maximum yield is probably the only thing you really care about. But you're growing for yourself, there's so many other more interesting factors in a lot of
Absolutely.
respects.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is why everybody needs to grow their own. Yeah,
Right.
you got to get on that shit. What about you, Brian? Anything to add to this? Like, let's say, for example, you were speaking to somebody who was just growing their first grow of cannabis. They're about 2 weeks into the flowering stage.
2 weeks.
The flowers are just about to grow. What should they be doing over the next 6 to 8 weeks to get the best out of the crop?
Yeah, okay. So we used to kind of say this, that once the girls are in flower, they're kind of like your daughter off at college. You have better raised her right because you're not really in control of her anymore.
Nice.
And so to
That's
set up
fucking
all
beautiful. I like it.
yeah, so that's where living soil, again, these are kind of like, you have to set yourself up for success. But why so many people are gravitating to this that are newer to farming cannabis, where Macky is, he's in a different situation because he already has the skill set. So why kind of change? If everything on the rails and everything's moving forward, then why change anything? And that's totally understandable. Like, he's probably growing some of the best weed in his little area because he has it down from experience. And that's where that quality comes from. From a living soil standpoint, starting from day one, understanding that it's not really up to you, you're the mentors. So this entire time, even like when you mentioned it's 2 weeks into flower, this person has been coached the entire time, not necessarily farmer anymore, because the living soil is feeding the plant. That's why I even hear the verbiage and stuff on like living, feed the soil, not the plant. That's a fantastic little line there, because there is a shift in the way that we are managing things. If we're just focused on the soil, now we can even grow a variety of cover crops while we're growing this cannabis. So we speed up the exudates, like I had mentioned earlier in the podcast, so that all of a sudden there's so many exudates that there's a variety of different microbes that can come from all of the different composts that we're adding, IMOs that we're doing, some of the vermicompost that hopefully you're building on your own, doing your own worm farms. All of those things come into play to create that diversity. And so all of that being done allows the cannabis plant, because now she's in flower, to already have the things that she needs to find success on her own. She should be healthy enough that, for the most part, she should be able to ward off any kind of pest pressures. You're continuing, if you want to get into it, where there's this thing called LIMO, where it's a liquid IMO that kind of the best example of that would be, because you have microbes on your skin, you should also have microbes on your plants. And a lot of people feel that way, especially indoors, that you need to have some kind of buffering system. So it's like a rabbit hole upon a rabbit hole upon a rabbit hole of growing cannabis plants. And that's why I was saying, be hesitant on always poo-pooing things if you like science stuff, because I love science stuff. But if I would have just kind of listened more to the hippie style of growing, I think I would have gravitated towards living soil a lot earlier. And for my skill sets, I would have found success, because it's very hard to grow really good weed against peers when you guys are all growing the same genetics and using the same products. Most of that stuff comes out smelling the same, looking the same.
Yeah, man, some good points raised there. You're gonna have to start making all these good points and shit with these fucking quality answers, because you're making the rest of us look shit, mate.
No, that's what I'm saying, man. I don't do this anymore. I want to teach you guys so that if you choose to go this way, it sounds like Margaret's going to head this way. This is kind of like, yeah, man, you got yourself on the right path. This is something that is a skill set that you would want to have for the rest of your life, because you can visually see it with your eyes that the plants are getting healthier every time you're flipping this stuff. And that gives you the confidence to be like, all right, I might not understand all of this A to Z yet, but I at least got the first couple chapters down, where in veg, I was a rock star. Maybe in flower, because the plant wasn't big enough and you didn't realize enough that you needed her a little bit bigger than you thought. She just doesn't flower the yields that you were after, but the quality will be there, like you had mentioned. And from usually the second flip on, that's where people can see the quality for themselves, even if they've grown cannabis their whole life synthetically, where it's like, wow, this is done by Mother Nature. Imagine how good this would be if it was more like an old growth forest. And that's where Dr. Lane Ingham, if you want to drive down that rabbit hole, if you're growing cannabis indoors with an old growth forest, you're pretty much growing cannabis with water. And that's where the real profits can come in, if you take the time to learn this setup.
Yeah, man. It's taking the time to learn it. Like you say, the first couple of chapters, there's so much to this shit, isn't it? I mean, I suppose you can do it simple if you just buy in living soils, ready built, stick in a pot, and then you'll be good for a grow or two. But that shit needs amending at the same time. So there's all this extra stuff to learn, but it's definitely the best way to go. And I want to go back to it one day, but I want to build a raised bed, like Marco grows, with the stones and sand, the horizontal soils and shit like that. I just like that shit, man. That sounds fucking awesome to me. But
and real quickly, who won the 2023 National Cannabis Champion with the belt around his waist?
Yeah,
Marco.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by this kind of stuff. When you have somebody that's extremely intelligent, understands engineering, and then also is growing cannabis with a living soil system, that's where the real stars can kind of align.
Yeah,
where
the
it's
man's an
somebody
artist,
that is
man, isn't he?
committed.
He's
Next
highly
level.
skilled, man. Highly skilled.
He's got the belt, dog. That's I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah,
I think people forget sometimes how good he is just because he's so laid back as well. If you know what I mean? You don't understand his brilliance because he's just so laid back about it. It's like you just sit and listen to him as well. It's good.
Yeah, good guy.
I've learned
like
a
Marco.
lot. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. Living Soul's a good way to go. Yeah, any questions here, Margaret? Because I know you are thinking about starting up your thing soon. Did this clarify everything for you? Is there any questions?
Oh
you
yeah,
think?
clear as mud. No, I'm kidding. I'm good. I'll know once I get started and I run into problems. That's when I'll have, it's easier to have specific questions at that point.
Yeah, that's it. And there's always Percy's Grove you can head to and get some answers from over there.
Yeah.
Just quickly then, Billy, what would you recommend to somebody who is like a couple of weeks into their flowering cycle, the flowers are just about to grow, and they need some advice on what to do for the next 6 to 8 weeks to improve the quality and the yield of their cannabis? What would you suggest to them?
I would say get online and like listen to people like Brian and Marco and a few others to get like as many tips from as many living soil growers or whatever medium you're growing in, really, to sort of get an understanding and to understand what everyone's saying and then fit to what you're doing as well. Try to make it more personal to how you're growing rather than just read what's on a bottle and then do, if you know what I mean. Try and maybe learn a bit. Like Brian said, if you like the science, get more into the science. So try and just learn from as many people as well. Like try and get a bit more time under your belt in learning stuff in that manner. Sort of, especially while you're attending your plant, sort of listen to things like obviously to our podcast and that, but all the others as well. Sort of just try and get information from other people.
Yeah.
Well,
I would
information.
For me, I would recommend not to do that so much, because if you go and get too much information, it gets far too confusing, man. Keep things as simple as possible. Learn stuff, but don't apply it to your growth straight away. You know, you don't be learning.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's just listen to as many different people, and then apply what it is to your personal growth, because they may be doing something completely different to you. That don't try and stretch what they're doing to what you're doing. Just listen to see how it applies to what you're doing.
Yeah. That's it. And for the salt-based growers, I would recommend, just keep it simple as possible. Keep the plant as happy and healthy as possible. Bit of a boost in the PK, and that will differ on lots of different things. So, just get help over at Percy's. Make sure you get your nutrient enrichment correct. And then, just keep the plant happy and healthy for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And harvest it at the right time. That's all you have to do, really. That's what I like to recommend to everybody. Keep it nice and simple. Don't push too far against, if this is your first grow anyway, don't go too crazy, and keep it simple. Get to the end, and then when you've got some cannabis to sit on, you got some surplus and shit, you're gonna have some for a while, then start moving on to these newer things after you've figured out which direction you want to go in. That's gonna be the best way to go. Just have fun with it while you're doing it. Would you add anything to add here, Margaret? You got any suggestions? Any feedback?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been covered pretty thoroughly. So, yeah.
Yeah. Just enjoy it, everybody. Just enjoy it. And of course, there's lots of advice online in lots of different places, like Billy said. You can go find Marco over on Instagram. Brian's over on Instagram. There's guys over at Percy'sGrowroom.com who grow organically too, or in synthetic, whichever way you grow. There was somebody who grows like you, and you'll be able to get that all figured out, get everything up and running. But enjoy the flowering cycle. It's pretty much, I like what you said there, Brian, about, it's pretty much having a daughter and sending her off to college, and you just want to hope that you raised her right, and that's it. If it's been properly taken care of, then it'll work out well. So just sit back and watch and give it what it needs. But that's it. I don't think we have any listener mail questions. I think we might have one, because I asked for listener mail questions later than usual. I know we have at least one over at the forum, but I don't want to double click things. just gonna go over here and try not to double click. Right, yeah. This was a difficult one. Maybe this is why I tried to ignore it. This is from Wolfie. Well, I don't know if any of you guys know anything about this. It's a bit out of our area, really. Do you know anything about mycocannabinoids contained in mushrooms? Apparently, I've been hearing a lot of hype about it lately, and binds to the CB1 and CB2 system like cannabis. Did you hear what I said then? Systems like cannabis terpenes with similar health benefits. Margaret, you know anything about this? You know anything about mycocannabinoids in mushrooms?
No, no, I'm unfamiliar with that.
No, I don't know anything about that either. Billy, any idea? Is that a no?
That'd be a no.
Right. What about you, Brian? Do you know anything about mycocannabinoids containing mushrooms?
I don't, man. And I would say that if you really want to dive into any of that, Dr. Ethan Russo is a fantastic person to learn from when it talks about this kind of stuff. And Paul Stamets is another fantastic person where you could probably combine that information. But again, this is why I was saying, like, from a soil standpoint, it's almost kind of like the ocean, if you will. Like, we don't understand really anything that's going on. Like, I feel like the soil scientists, there's very few of them that will speak up and say like what's actually happening to our planet while we're spraying all these fungicides and pesticides and stuff. But if you can harness this indoors, you're gonna have this own little utopia for yourself, and it feels good. Like you're gonna enjoy doing this. I promise you. Growing cannabis, whether you're growing synthetically or with like a living soil, there's just something too about growing plants and seeing them through. And then finding success with that, and maybe putting a little extra money in your pocket. That always feels a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't know anything about that kind of shit. I know stuff about mushrooms, but mycocannabinoids in mushrooms, I don't know. I'm more interested in the psilocybin in the mushrooms than any kind of cannabinoids. If I want cannabinoids, I'll go for cannabis. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe mycocannabinoids is something we should look into. Yeah, so thanks for the question there, Wolfie, but I don't think we have any answers for you on this one. It's a little bit out of our expertise. But I think that was the only listener mail question.
I've got a quick listener mail question as such. It's not cannabis related though.
It sounds like I don't want to ask this. I don't want to let you ask it.
No. It's not that bad. I was thinking, like, with all the fakery, like, going about nowadays, is it wrong to throw a ball at a blind person to test if they're really blind or not?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, only tennis ball, something soft, not a ping pong, something.
Oh, right.
I think So if they've actually got their glasses, lob tennis ball. I mean, if they catch it, then they're either like really good listening, or they're probably faking it.
Well, and a lot of blind people not actually fully blind, but they got either like really long or really short distance sight.
So you're testing how blind they are. Could it be a level of blind testedness, and how much you want to donate to their charity or something? I'm not sure. Wow. But it's just a quick question. What do you think? So you wouldn't throw the ball at them, you're saying?
No, I wouldn't, but I'd watch you do it.
I'm not saying I would. It's just a thought that some people might. So is it wrong or not? It's just a question, really. I'm not advocating you should or shouldn't. But
I don't think it's on you to be testing people's blindness.
No.
It's not your job, Billy. Let the guy walk around with his glasses on. Stop being a knob. What do you think, Margaret? Would you throw the ball at the blind person?
No,
I don't think this guy's actually blind. Let me test it.
Yeah.
If they're faking it, then karma will handle it later, probably. So.
Okay. What do you think, Brian? Would you throw the ball at the guy?
Yeah, that's a bit much for me to just see if he was blind. I mean, throwing a ball at a stranger, I guess, hoping that he's faking it. That sounds pretty.
What if it was like your uncle
scary.
or something? Then.
Yeah. Well, what happens if you knew? What happens if you sort of knew he was and you wasn't sure? Sort of like.
Well, if I'm throwing the ball at his face, I'm hoping that he's faking it. Because if he's not faking it, holy shit.
Especially he's got a cane and shit. He's got to come for you, bro.
Especially if you're insinuating in front of other people.
Yeah, that's the one. Like you're insinuating it, that's to prove a crime or such. What's it called? Columbo, like an old Columbo technique to prove that it's not really blind.
Lobs a ball at. It'll be up on fucking TikTok and shit. Male Karen throws a ball at a blind guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
I
funny,
thought
yeah.
some a stupid question to ask at the end. That do.
Man, I've just been I was talking to a friend about simulation theory the other day, but we won't go down that fucking rabbit hole. Shit. But that's always an interesting one. I like talking about simulation theory. Any questions
What's your
people have on that
favourite
shit?
one?
Yeah, my favorite one right now. It's good shit. But yeah, thanks for
We
the
should
question.
probably.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
sorry,
you should
buddy.
probably thank your sponsors, isn't it? Like, was it the aftershave Booth for Men?
Booth for men. Yeah, thanks again to
Yeah,
our
yeah.
sponsors, Booth. Check out Booth's freshest fragrance. That was difficult to say, that was. Everybody
Yeah.
tries saying that. Booth's freshest fragrance. That's
Booth's
diff-
freshest
Ooh.
fragrance. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a bit.
It's a bit a difficult
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
It's very musky and grassy.
Yeah, it's very beaver ass.
It's very fecal. You all know what boofing is, right? You all. I mean, we discussed this before. I'm sure we discussed
Google
boofing
it.
on it. Yeah, don't
I
Google
almost
it, everybody.
guarantee that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's
Gosh.
gonna be. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, everybody knows you boof shit in prison. So boof that's probably exactly where that comes from. You've been
Beautiful.
smoking that boof. It smells like it's been in someone's
Oh
dirty.
no! Yeah. Oh god. I
Yeah,
see what you're
smoke
saying.
in someone's ass.
terrible.
Motherfucker.
That's definitely a good place to end it.
Ass weed.
Let's go to the outro.
Don't smoke ass weed. Grow your own.
Yeah, nice little thing to add to the outro there, everybody.
That should be a clip in itself.
Yeah.
Just that. Don't need nothing else. Just that's an advert.
I'm gonna add it right to the end. You know.
Yeah. I think yeah.
Don't smoke ass weed. Grow your own. Grow your own ass weed, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. And if you want your own booth weed, then each to their own, man. You can make your own of that too. Savagery. But thanks for joining us there, Brian. Thanks for coming to join us for the show, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on the panel. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man, this was great. It was fun. And again, I like when we all don't agree on stuff. It's fun to listen to other people's opinions and
Yes.
have a respectful disagreement on things sometimes.
Yeah, people find it difficult to be able to do that nowadays, and I don't like it, man. We all the conversations I prefer are with people who I disagree with, because I want to know if I'm right or wrong, and I don't mind being wrong. I just want to know if I'm wrong or not, so I can correct myself. So I like having discussions with people who think differently than I do, because that's the important ones. You know what I mean? That's the ones you want to be listening to. You listen to people you agree with all the time. It just, I don't know, becomes echo chambery and boring, I find. But yeah, I always enjoy conversations with differences of opinion, and I appreciate it. Yeah,
Especially people in other countries as well, because we all obviously have different influences on us locally and nationally, sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
that can be homework for everybody. Go and have a conversation this week with somebody you disagree with about something, and have some fun. And be respectful and polite all the time, Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. We all have different reasons for believing the things we do and thinking the way that we do. So, just try and understand that when you're having these different discussions with people. It's good fun. And speaking of those random discussions that we do have, there'll be the Patreon session this week. Yes. I love the Patreon session. Friday, normal showtime, 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you are free and you are a Patreon, come and join us for the session where we will talk about whatever we talk about that day. It doesn't go live. It's in the Zoom room. You just come and join us and come and chat some shit. And of course, Brian, if you're free, you are more than welcome to come and join us as well, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's usually when I have that Friday show. So
Boo. Boo.
everybody there. But it'd be fun to have you guys come on the show for that.
Yeah, sure. Give us a shout, man.
we-
Always willing to go on there.
Yeah, Billy and Margaret, it'd be great to have you guys on as like a panel or something. We'd have to talk like homegrown style, because I know a lot of people are really trying to find ways to not only grow their own food but monetize those skill sets. And I'm speaking from us. Are we still live? Or?
Oh yeah, we're still live. Yeah.
Okay, good. So just like, people want people want receipts. Well, it's pointless to tell, the three of you, but from my skill sets of growing cannabis and all through the years and all the bullshit, dealing with all the suits and all the stuff and feeling like people kick you around, blah, blah, all that stuff, that skill set, no one can ever take from you. Like you're spending the time to learn this stuff. No one can steal that shit from you. And so eventually you can find your own little path. And I think there's something to monetizing soil with growing, there's microgreens, there's floral flowers that are extremely popular that people pay a lot of money for. So the living soil brings out those colors, it pops that. The living soil brings out the nutrients in those microgreens. And for me, I found how to do it with isopods. So my family, my wife included, everything we do is based off these soil systems that we were talking about today. So if you need receipts, that's what we were kind of getting at. Kevin, my co-host on a Friday night too, he just taught a whole thing this weekend to a group of people that came from around the country. That's where that giving and taking, I think, is really happening in the living soil world. And Macky is a very rare person in the synthetic world that's willing to share his secrets with you. So
I don't have any secrets.
Yeah, right, man. The experience alone and just talking with people and being not stuffy about things and not trying to use the biggest words in your vocabulary so you sound super smart goes a long way with people. And that's why I think people resonate with your podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I do like to try and keep things simple. I don't like the whole scientific. I enjoy the science, but I like to not use scientific words if possible, because it can throw people off. I like to encourage as many people as possible to get involved. And if they want to look for the really complex shit, then we recommend them to other shows that with people who know the complex shit. You know what I mean? That's what we like to do. We want to get people growing. That's the important thing. Maybe that should be homework. Go and encourage somebody to grow their own cannabis this week. Not if you're in the UK or somewhere illegal. That wouldn't be a good idea. But, if you're legal, then yeah, why not? Get people involved, man. More people need to be doing this shit. It's a great hobby. But let's wrap this shit up so we can all go. We've gone longer than usual. We're nearly on 3 hours now. It's been a damn good show, everybody. Thanks to all of the listeners as well. Thanks for coming to join us. We appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Share if you can. But, of course, no pressure. And we'll see you again this time next week for a Halloween special where we're going to tell some scary stories and shit. That'll be fun. Let's do a little bit different next week. Stay high, stay safe and all that, everybody. Anything else to add? Anybody? Anything to add? Brian, where can everybody find you?
Now rubberduckyisopods.com. Just thankful to everybody that's been supporting us for over 3 years now.
Beautiful. And Margaret, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at bitemepodcast.com or Bite Me the Show About Edibles on your favorite podcasting platform.
Nice. And you can find Billy on the corner in his socks. See you next week, everybody. Anywhere people can find you, Billy?
Yeah, probably on Discord somewhere. But
nice.
lurking.
Yeah, that's right. And to get to the Discord server, just click in the description there, and there'll be the link. See you on the next one, everybody. Stay high, stay safe. Goodbye.
Bye.
Everybody wave. Everybody wave.
Bye. Bye then.
Watch it double. Bye.